congratulations to your top 8. It's definitely been a grind all weekend long. I think everybody can agree. Very impressive to get to this point. So congratulations, guys. You deserve all the praise. We would first like to thank our sponsors, Motiv, 7-Leaf, CTD, Classic Products, and QubicaAMF. Without them, this event doesn't happen. So, big thank you to those guys. Your matches today start with your number 1 seed, Graham Falk, your number 8 seed, David Stouffer. Goes right here in lanes 31 and 32. Your 2nd seed, Joseph Grondin, and your 7th seed, Kyle Troop, down 39 and 40. Your 3rd seed, Cody Shoemaker, and your 6th seed, Nate Stuber, at 43 and 44. And your 4th seed, Mitch Beasley, and your 5th seed, Brett Shepard, on 27 to 28. The higher seeds will get lane choice. This is a best 2 out of 3. For those failing to advance, your checks will be ready immediately following your match. This is a reminder that we do allow surfacing prior to this match, but you will not be allowed to surface beyond this point for anyone advancing. So all ball surfaces must happen now. You guys will get 10 minutes of practice. Then following, you will get 5 minutes of practice for each match after this. But for this one, you will get 10. Good luck and good bowling.
Sanders texted me and Brett Friday night. I guess Brett had asked me to go with doubles.
7 minutes of practice or the full 10? Okay, it is 10? Okay.
Were you want to do commentary, and then I'll sub in for you when you're around, or you want me to do it?
You go for it. I'll sub in at some point.
Okay. You just let me know when you want. Otherwise,
Coming out.
oh, my pleasure. I hate to be this late. Like, I legit got home from church, I let Stacy out of the car and grabbed the jersey and was like, bye again, we're leaving. And then staying here to bowl Jeremy's Baker's doubles tonight.
I think everything's ran pretty good.
Seems that way. Everybody I've talked to has been, I haven't heard anybody complain or dog anything, which is rare. Usually you get people complain about anything they can. I haven't heard a word. I was talking to Tyler about that a little bit. He said last year you could kind of feed it at the spot and it would kind of turn over. This year you could not do that. You couldn't feed it to it. And I was talking to Graham about it. He's like, oh, absolutely not. You try to feed it there, you were going to get 5, maybe.
So I told Jay yesterday, I said, when you're done bowling today, I said, I'll completely blow your mind on something. He goes, I don't think so. I said, yeah. We were talking about the pattern. I always talk to like yourself or Dan Lewis. I said, your shape of the pattern is identical.
Just telling me.
Identical. I said, but it's amazing what you can do when you start messing with it.
Right?
I don't mind playing match play.
Hey, ain't no wrong with that. I was watching one guy last night that was the righty earlier, the second qualifying squad, D squad. The righty that was almost lofting the right gutter, just landing it right on the lip and trying to feed it there. I was telling Casey about it. I was like, yeah, watch this. It's pretty impressive. And the very frame she came to watch, he went double gutter. And I was like, all right, never mind. I didn't mean to jinx it.
I like watching the people that never bowled.
Yes.
That's how we bowling you go, right? And Jarrell.
Yeah.
And they're wheeling it. And when I go to watch Cam on his first shot, they turn in and like, what the hell is this?
Right. That would have been, yeah. We should start videoing those. The reaction after that first shot has got to be priceless for the guys that have never seen it, because you can hear.
All right, folks, here we go.
I can believe until you see what exactly they mean by that.
You know how we were talking earlier about big jumps in the field? So we're talking about big jumps when like Smallwood jumped to 8th and Lambert jumped from 26th to 1st. He won the last one. Shoemaker jumped from 30th to 3rd today.
Dang.
30th to 3rd.
You gotta tell everybody, it ain't over till it's over.
Couple more minutes left in practice. We'll go over the bracket here. Emil Williams Jr. and now joined by the one and only Chris Hester.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining and watching the round of 8 here.
It's finals time. Trophy, $12,500 to the winner. At this point, if you've been watching, you kind of know what to expect pattern-wise. But match play always presents a different kind of feel, and certainly a challenge if you're trying to break down a pair, especially at this point. It's really the only time you'll have 10 minutes worth of practice, I believe, to set up. So if you're thinking strategy, Chris, and you've been in plenty of match play settings before, on something like this, what might be your strategy, thinking about yourself from the offense and then your opponent?
So knowing that on our side, on the left side, we never in this tournament look for the friction because it's just not going to be there. That being said, this situation, personally, I would take the lowest grip ball I have and it would go right up the gutter for 5 or 6 minutes of the practice. That way I give myself a little bit of the leak room left, because obviously, you have all the hold you're going to need. So if you can somehow pick up a little bit of a hook spot, which it looks like Graham threw one ball to start practice and went to a different one now that we're, 2 minutes away from starting, 30 seconds away from starting. For my opponent, you know, I've never been the guy that's a big fan of the guys that try and play defense. I've always felt my goal is to make them as best as I can for me and then try and outbowl the other person. So I'm always interested, though, to see what, because typically, like right now, we have 2 lefties out of the 8. So I'm always interested to see what the righties try and do from the start, because it's obvious, you know, and this isn't a knock, obviously, against anyone, but the lefties, we just get the opportunity to play straighter so much more. So breaking this kind of pattern down is easier for us because we're used to just keeping our angle straight, keeping the ball in front of you. So I'm interested on the guys that are used to, for example, Mitch. You know, Mitch is a guy that likes to circle it, and this, you can't do that here. Now, obviously, Mitch is smart enough, veteran enough to know that he can't do that, but watching the younger guys that are, maybe this is their first experience, it's always curious to see if they're going to try and break it down to hook or if they're just sitting all 10 minutes to try and figure out how to get it to the pocket.
Intriguing thoughts. A couple of notes, too, as we begin here. We'll run down the bracket. Brett Shepard is going to go first. Now, Brett is bowling Mitch Beasley. That's the 4-5. Mitch the 4, and Brett the 5th seed. And then on the high end, we'll have Nate Stubler, the 6th seed, versus Cody Shoemaker, the 3 seed. Those are the matches that are outside of camera range, but obviously we'll be updating you as we go forward. It looks like David Stouffer is going to go first in his match versus Graham Fa. Fa, the number 1 seed, taking on David Stouffer, last year's runner-up and the 8th seed, here this afternoon. First shot, Stouffer. Ooh. And send some pins. Interesting start for, we didn't see it, but for Joe Grondin. And Joe, we'll talk about his rise, but he started today, I think, in 17th, ends up in 2nd, but that's not even the biggest jump of the day. That belongs to Cody Shoemaker, who started the day in 30th and ends up in 3rd.
As both guys start with their spare there, I got to give Stouffer a little credit. I mean, he's the only one I see still bowling that made the cut in the doubles on Friday night. So he has shown that he can strike
a lot of bowling
on the house condition, and he can strike when they're hard. That's impressive. It's not often you see the guys that excel in this kind of event also excel on the house pattern event. It's pretty impressive.
First look at Kyle Troop here on 39 and 40.
Looks like Cody started 8-1, so he opened in the first.
Again, appreciate everybody tuning in. Thanks to all of you for hanging out this weekend. Early strike from Graham Fa, as you saw. This is Fa now looking for that double. Brett Shepard, the local, works in the pro shop in this building at Wolf's Bowling Supply. And I think a lot of folks, obviously, plenty of support for Brett, as you would anticipate. Chris, just let the folks know, you know, from a perspective of how long you've known Brett, watched him bowl, and what you might expect certainly in his match against Mitch.
So we probably 2 years out of juniors, him and I started traveling and bowling tournaments together. And when I say traveling and bowling together, I didn't mean like we would show up at the same event. Like we traveled together. That was my roommate. We split car rides. Like he was in my wedding. He's one of my best friends in the world. And we always joke with him that he's very good at 2 different things specifically. One is getting as far left as possible and looping it, and the other is getting as far right as possible and throwing it up the lane. So this is actually a pretty good type of pattern for his abilities. He's gotten so much better at touch and not throwing it through the break point, letting the ball actually see the lane a little bit. You know, coming out of juniors, you think you can just hammer on it, curve it everywhere, but Brett has worked very hard on making sure that he doesn't throw it through the spot. And this is a perfect example of putting it forward, and he starts with a double. So looks like he might be throwing a 1 maybe, or a defender. It might be a defender. But yeah, he's gotten very good at just kind of letting it roll up the lane and turn it over, and not even the little leak right on this is disaster. So watching him being able to, knowing how he first came up from juniors and bowled his first few years, now watching him make the final 8 in this and keeping his angles tight, keeping the, his look in front of him it's really impressive. But I also know the work, that he's put in to get here. So it's good to see his work paying off in this type of event.
You see Joe Grondin leave a 6'10". There was a moment where Brett was kind of facing a potential situation where he could have fallen out of the top 8, and he ends up shooting 224 in the final game to solidify his spot and moves himself up to 5th place.
And he had texted me right when they finished and said that he made the cut by around 10, and he made the 3, 4, 6, 7 to make the cut. And him and I joke that I would rather him shoot the 3, 6, 7, 10 than I'd rather him see him shoot that than a 10 pin in order to make the cut. It's ridiculous how much he makes the 3, 4, 6, 7 combinations.
And a 4-9, unfortunately, here for David Stouffer. He's talking about the rise for Joe Grondin. He went 180, 243, 257, 215, 203, 247. But right now looking to be doing it a little bit differently. And that's what I was thinking about. His game 1 in this block, or I'm sorry, earlier in the catcher's round. Nice spare by
Stouffer.
Mr. Stouffer. 4-9. Grondin went 180. So I'm like, well, if he can get out of the gates decently enough. Now this is best 2 of 3. So keep that in mind. It's not a total pinfall situation.
Which is good. That way you can, if you do get down in a match, you can kind of fish around and try and find you something for the next game rather than kind of sticking with something too long just because you don't want to give away pins.
Kyle is now doing a little something differently as well. He's moved further right now to the gutter. Nice shot there by Graham Fa. Kyle had been in the middle of the lane really throughout, I feel like, qualifying, even last night. With what looks to be a different ball, too, from what I've been used to seeing.
Watching Graham's last shot, that's what I was kind of curious to see this year. If you could just throw it kind of straight up the 1-2, not giving it any room to bend, and just go right up it and let your surface of your ball and the core of your ball take over. We had asked Graham when he was in the pro shop earlier what surface he had on his ball, and he told us he didn't remember. He said whatever it was a lot. But it looks like he's just throwing it right up it and not trying to overpower it. He's very good at staying up the back of it, which allows it to just not try and change directions, and starts out strike spare double.
We've got 2 runner-ups in Bradley Open history in the field, and they're bowling each other to start.
Wow. What are the odds of that?
Graham Fa was a past runner-up, losing to Brandon Novak. And David Stouffer, of course, runner-up, losing to A.J. Rice last year.
And like we were talking about before this started with Graham, he has also won the Kentucky Open, I think 3 times, which is all on, patterns. 1 long, 1 short, 1 medium, and then Sunday's usually on a U.S. Open pattern. Graham, he's just impressive to watch. If he needs to bend it, he can bend it. If not, he could be soft with it and throw it up the lane. He's a lot of fun to watch.
Cody Shoemaker, he's got 3 in a row, again, against Nate Stubler, but Nate began with 3 in a row of his own, 6 spare, so early good vibes in that match.
Don't see a lot of strikes in the Shepard-Beasley match right now. Brett started with a strike. It looks like it might be the only strike of the game so far, through 4.
Pretty impressive, too. That was back-to-back 2-8s converted by Troop off camera, but Stouffer also had a 2-8 as well, and both players went straight at.
I was going to say, that is not one you can be excited about having to shoot. There are so many ways to miss that on something like this. So Stouffer made that and the 4-9. He's off to a pretty good spare shooting start, which on this is so important because, like I said, you can't chase the 4 and 5 baggers here. So missing a spare is shooting yourself in the foot to an extreme level on this.
Yeah, let me know if this makes sense too, right? After seeing Kyle essentially be in the middle part of the lane for just about the entire tournament, I'm thinking, right, the only thing, because it's match play and he's got a chance to break the lane down if he would like to, then that would kind of push him to that point and say, all right, I know now I can maneuver and try to work something out near the gutter when I really didn't have that opportunity really during the rest of the term. Does that make sense?
It does. And when you're following everybody else, you know, Kyle is smart enough to know that if he wants to play out and nobody else is, that just isn't going to work. So he can migrate in and play the track. But now that he gets to kind of create it himself, you know, you can basically try and make it to where you can play your A game rather than following pair to pair, not knowing what the people in front of you or people in front of the people in front of you were doing and turning it into a guessing game every way.
Rondon has doubled. He's now into a 3-bagger, as is Graham Fa.
Mitch just threw a strike down that way. Looks like Brett has strike and 4 spares, and Mitch just threw his first strike in the 5th.
A no by Tim. Tim says it's how you have to play them.
Absolutely. And like we had talked about when this first started, the beauty of this is you can kind of, if you kind of know how to break them down to make it better for you, this is your opportunity to do that and excel. And somebody like Kyle, who kind of missed that one right and never saw it, like Kyle, is smart enough to know that he can kind of manipulate him to benefit himself. Another good shot by Graham.
Well, Graham Fa just, you know, I like to always say making copies, and you look at him, it just looks the same each time out.
Well, and he's one of those guys that if you just watch him from afar, you have no idea how he's bowling. His emotions are the exact same if he's winning a tournament or losing it, or out of last of a tournament. He just stays the same even keel. Which again, on this, you need to do that, because if you get too excited and then throw one a little hard and it misses the spot, there's no telling what you're going to leave. Very easy to get 3 if you get too excited on this.
You see Troop still clean, but still looking for his first strike. 6 frame coming up. This is David Stouffer, 6 frame also. We talked about his spare shooting. He'll leave himself a single pin. Down in the Shepard-Beasley match, Brett just doubled. Oh, I'm sorry, struck for the first time since the early few frames. He got, looks like 4 or 5 9 spares in the middle.
That one looked good. He's actually pretty darn good two-handed, too, when he wants to be.
Is that right?
Absolutely. Him and Daniel Ferris both. It's crazy to watch him
I know Daniel.
bowl two-handed. It's funny, I talked to Daniel about his two-handed thing the other day. We bowled a no-tap for the fundraiser in my dad's name a weekend or 2 ago, and we were throwing opposite-handed towards the end, and he said that he never got to practice that growing up because his dad was like, if you're going to practice, you're going to do the right thing. He said, and then when I got old enough to do it myself, all my practice that wasn't serious practice was two-handed. He said, so now he can kind of incorporate that when he wants to, which is impressive.
He started messing around with it while we were still in school.
Oh, okay.
And, you know, as you've seen it, it's pretty good.
It is, especially, and this might sound crazy, but especially from a guy that doesn't really curve it normally, to watch him be able to just completely flip the switch and open up his angles it's really impressive. Looks like we had both players at the end in the Shoemaker match, both opened in the 5th. Or 6th, we had a 9 out and an 8-1. So they're kind of even themselves out. Graham, strike spare 4-bagger. Kyle has yet to throw a strike.
I'm going to go Grondin here first. That's because I want to see this next shot here. 3-bagger waiting. Graham wrapped a 7, 4-pin for Joe. And of course, Joe Grondin out there on the PBA Tour recently made a show.
Very nice.
A couple of weeks back. And, you know, like a lot of young players, I understand, I learned that Cody Shoemaker now out doing his thing and trying to make things happen on tour also. Nate Stubler the same way.
I love to see that. And I try and explain to the guys of kind of my generation, the older generation, that, you know, these guys, they treat it like an actual sport. They're training in the gym. They're practicing and not just goofing around. Like every practice has a meaning behind it. They treat it professionally. And when I was growing up, you know, I didn't know anybody in my generation that did it that way. It was all, we just did it to have fun. But these guys, they're in the gym. They're working on cardio. Like, they take this as a sport, and it's really, really exciting to watch. It leads me to think that the future's bright in our sport.
The young crop currently, again, and many of these players that I just mentioned on tour, and we saw several more bowling the event this week, really lets you know that despite all the other stuff that may be going down in the sport, just from the pure bowling aspect of it and the players who have an opportunity to make names for themselves and on the rise, that part is great.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. And that's what I keep telling sponsors anytime I talk to somebody about sponsoring it. And, you know, still hard to get people out of the stereotype of bowling and drinking beer and eating nachos. And I'm like, this upcoming generation, that's not how they see it. Brett leaves at 10. Graham wrapped another 7. Kyle still has yet to throw a strike.
Really good spare shooting across the board so far here in all of these matches. Another spare there for Grondin. Clean between Fa and Stouffer.
Looks like Shoemaker might be down a mark at the high end.
He may be the only. There's a couple opens between Stubler and Shoemaker, but other than that, that's really about it so far.
Curious to see if Kyle tries to do something different or not, considering he doesn't have a strike yet. But he's also smart enough and patient enough to know that changing your game plan at this point is probably not the greatest plan.
No, I think he's certainly committed, and I think, you know, from the format perspective, right, he's got 3 games essentially to work with.
Exactly.
I think he just switched to the ball that I believe he's been throwing for the majority of the tournament.
Brett logs out the 10.
First open for Stouffer and the first open by, again, either player in that match. Just a 2-pin for Troop.
Match at the high. The Shoemaker match just got tighter. Stabler missed his half bucket. Troop clean through 7.
It's really good to see Mitch Beasley not only just back out, but bowling very well.
Agreed. Completely agree. It's a big shot in the Shoemaker match. He can put himself back ahead here. Stuffs it. Looks like he can shoot 220 if he strikes out. An opponent can shoot 212 if he strikes out. So Shoemaker has it in his hands going into the 9th. You know, Kyle's not throwing a strike, but he's only down 20, so it's not like he's exactly out of the game. Looks like the first game of the Graham Fa match is going to go to Graham. There's Kyle, flushing one.
That's the ball. That's the one he's been using. I'm not sure what it is. I'm going to try to get a look at it.
And this is one of those things, as you're facing somebody like Kyle that you know is one of the best in the world, watching him not throw strikes, you're kind of able to build your confidence up. It's curious to see what happens once he strikes. Do you start overthinking, putting too much pressure on yourself? You're kind of almost free rolling through the first half of the game. Now it's a 20-pin game. Oh, slapping the 10 out.
Ooh.
Shoemaker got 9 in the 9th, so that is going to be a 10-pin game going into the 9th.
Folks, please share if you haven't already. Appreciate it if you hit that thumbs up as well. And if you haven't subscribed, definitely do that. Just buried from Fa. And Graham is going to take game 1.
See somebody in the chat talking about Stubler helping him while he's bowling. That is always good to see as well. You know, watching the guys that have this level of skill being willing to help up-and-comers is key. Helps continue to grow the sport. So Kyle can still bowl 210, but his opponent can bowl 240. So Kyle can strike out, force him to mark in the 10th. So never know, especially on this. Looks like Stubler threw that one, so he can double in the 10th and win the first game down at the end.
Graham, I think, threw a different shot, or a different ball, excuse me. Second shot in the 10th frame. The 7-pin will wiggle but not fall for Troop.
Can't see the score at the other end, but I know Brett's on a strike going into the 10th, and he 10-pinned in the 9th, so he's very close anyway. Yeah, Graham's going to bowl 240. Which looks to be high by quite a bit just based on what we can see from here. Big sharp first shot in the 10th for Stubler. Kicks the 7 out. So if he throws one more, Stubler will win game 1 against Shoemaker. Brett doubles. Oh, being that Brett threw that one down the middle, I'm going to assume the strike in the 10th, first ball in the 10th, gave him the win. That one would look like it was a I'm not going to lose count ball, which is also smart. If you just need a few pins, throwing your regular shot on this is always scary.
We saw a few players do that today, actually, and not taking any field shots for granted.
Absolutely. Stubler, flat 7, second ball in the 10th, so Shoemaker can now double and win game 1. Looks like the Beasley-Shepard match is the only one that's actually completely finished with game 1. They're starting game 2. That one looked good from Kyle. So like we had talked about, you know, in Kyle's situation, he's down, even best case scenario, he might still lose by 40, but it's not a total pins thing. So you can just stay there knowing the more shots you throw on this, the little more friction you're going to see. So making a gigantic move to try and find something is probably not going to see that very much.
Well, right now, Joe Grondin is just continuing on this pace that he has been on since this morning began.
Let's see, Shoemaker's first ball in the 10th. Rings a 10, so it looks like Stubler's going to win game 1 in the Shoemaker match.
All right, back to Foz. They begin game 2 of their match. Back to the ball he was throwing, perhaps a 7.
I think that's been his only miss, hasn't it? Seven pin just like that 2 or 3 times.
So, and looks like Tim Andrews may know what Graham is throwing out there.
So the Troop match, 209 to 187, game 1.
It is a race to 2. Every match here is best of 3.
Looks like Brett opened in the first of game 2. That looks like it probably, well, here clapping, it looked like a flat 10, but I guess it struck. Sure looked like a flat 10 from where we were. Kyle getting up to start the second game of that match. Him being around Louisville a lot more, I've kind of got to know Kyle the person and not the Kyle you see on TV. And what an incredible guy he is. Giving, just another guy that's willing to help anybody that needs help. You see him on TV and you kind of get a perception of the way people are, and little do you know that's not really how they are. For example, Zimmer and I and our kind of YouTube show were on the verge of starting. We interviewed Pete Weber, and Zimmer had never met Weber, so he was a little intimidated going in. I kept telling him, Pete is not the guy you see on TV. He's funny. He's just completely relaxed and chill. And we got done with the first interview, and Zimmer called me, and he said, I would have never thought that guy was that easygoing. And I said, yeah, it's not the guys you see on Sunday when you see him on TV, you know, bowling for their wages, basically. They're just normal humans like us. Some good, some different. But I was glad to get to know Kyle a little better. He's a very, very humble and overall good dude, which is good to see, being as he's a big face of the top level of our game.
Yeah, recent player of the year, of course. He has put himself in the upper echelon of
Without
players who
question.
bowl.
Agreed. Looks like Mitch split in the second. So that matches back to all square with both having an open. Stubler and Shoemaker both start with a strike. And Kyle big forward, so he's down a mark after one. Very early. Very good shot. That's Shoemaker.
Again, Cody jumped from 30th to 30.
Just goes to show, especially when you're bowling on something like this and there's not, you know, like I told Daniel when we were on Friday night.
Or third, I'm sorry, 30th to third.
Right. When Daniel and we were on Friday night, he asked me if somebody was bowling this for the first time, what would I tell them? And I said, do not chase a 250 reaction. If you know that going in and you're trying to just focus on bowling 220, those kind of jumps you can easily do if you give yourself 2-0 a couple times and happen to catch a pair, you can pop one. You can make that kind of jump. It's, you know, just trying to keep your head level and not seek out a 250 reaction, because most of the time on this, it's not there. Looks like Mitch split again in the second. Stubler and Shoemaker both start with a double. Mitch has open in the second and third. Like to see Kyle try and get something here, make this one shaker 7. So he needs, his opponent seems to be very close, so Kyle's gonna have to bear down here.
No bonus pins, and the pins accumulated from the last 12 games to get these players here do not carry over.
Brett trips out of 4 for a double.
The squeak, the spare from
Is that what that was? I was wondering where that squeak came from.
Yeah, that was the squeak.
Great shot by Stouffer. He starts with a triple. This is always interesting here too, because at this bowling center itself, we always tell them when you're bowling an event here where you're crossing the house, it's like crossing 4 different bowling centers. So that's always a thing too, which makes it good in situations like this, because if you're on a pair that's a little harder than the other pair, it doesn't matter. All you have to worry about is what you're doing on your pair. Uh-oh, Kyle like that one, threw his hands up immediately.
Well, he's on the rundown right now. At least he's trying to create that, like the LeBron James rundown block.
Absolutely.
Stouffer in the same situation. Arguably more vital because Grandfather, you know, is locked in. He's lined up. And so David has no choice but to match Graham and obviously exceed him in that capacity just to tie the matchup.
And Stouffer starts with the first 4, and at least the last 3 have been absolutely dead flush. Brett made a 2-8 at the other end, which again, that is not one you want to shoot. Great shot by Graham.
Wow.
Stubler with the spare. He has double, 9 spare. Shoemaker has started with a double. So Graham has spare triple and Stouffer has 4-bagger. Either one of those you'd have to feel confident if you were in any other match, unfortunately. Bowling each other. That's what I mean though. We used to always talk about the Super Classic, that it didn't matter what the pair next to you was doing. All you can do is beat the guy on your pair. That's the only thing that matters. And that is a very fun, fair format. Mitch went Brooklyn, left a 5-pin on that one. I think Graham's every shot has been the same. He's either wrap 7 or 10 back.
I mean, literally, it's been nothing.
It's impressive.
Other than that.
I mean, it hasn't been a half 7. It has been the 4.
You know, that was
crushing the sidewall.
That one messenger that he did get.
That's right. The rest of it has been either 9 or 10 straight back. Shoemaker strikes in the 3rd, so he started with a triple. Up in the 4th, strikes in the 4th. Graham missing the 7-pin.
That's the first real mistake that Graham has made.
Chink in the armor, and his opponent has the first 4, so that could be a costly one.
Uh-oh.
Kyle with a double, starting to step him out. Like to see it. His emotion is one of the fun things to watch about him, because he doesn't get He doesn't get rude. He doesn't get taunting towards the other person. He gets pumping himself up, which is always fun. As long as you're not degrading your opponent, I don't mind that emotion.
What's your match play, not style, but like how are you in this environment? Because like you mentioned about the show about Pete and Kyle, right? What you see on TV, intense, et cetera, and so forth. Great dude, obviously, off the lanes. I'm a person that I'm this, I'm very even keel, very mellow. As soon as you get me in an atmosphere like this, I'm a completely different dude.
Oh, really?
I'm running out shots on people.
Oh, okay.
So where are you? Where do you
I am
fall?
not. I am just, I will sit as long as I can. I will sit in the very first seat, and I will just, you would usually not even hear a peep from me. Jimmy, well, one of the best ever in this city, used to always tell us that. When you start getting too low and too high is when your emotions start changing, and that can affect a lot of things. And I took a lot of advice from him, and that was one of the better ones. So I will sit down in my chair most of the time, close my eyes until I know it's my turn. Not that way I don't see if my opponent got a break or anything like that. It might kind of send my mind racing. I just mind my own business, play words with friends, and keep quiet. Brett with another strike. So he's ahead in this match and won the first game.
No worries, folks. If you missed any updates or think you've missed anything, neither match is complete. But we will get you. Did we confirm that Brett is leading the match?
I can check real quick.
Okay.
So yes, Brett confirmed up 1-0 on Mitch. And Mitch split in the second and third of this game already. Looks like Stugler has strike, 3 straight 9 counts, and his opponent has a 4-bagger. Stouffer with back-to-back spares after Graham's miss, so Graham can strike here and kind of get right back to where he needs to be, which, again, I don't think I've seen him do anything but throw up flush, so you expect him, a player of his caliber that's been here before, to step up and throw a good shot.
Oh, my.
Ouch.
That's it's one of those things where it's just kind of been rudimentary. It's possible on this weekend. But, those who I've seen leave this, and there's been a few, I think I've seen maybe one attempt missed.
Oh, really?
To be honest.
Okay.
That I've personally seen.
Oh, Stugler misses a 7-pin in the 5th. So he has double 9 spare, 9 spare, 9 miss. His opponent has the first 4. I was watching last night, and you would see people leave a 5-pin, and my wife would be like, well, at least they left an easy spare. And I'm like, but is it? Because if you don't know how to get your ball to the pocket right now, I don't know if I want to shoot one in the middle of the lane. Obviously, these guys have a pretty good idea of how to get it to the pocket, though, as they're still here. Shoemaker stepping up in the 5th on a 4-bagger. Dead flush, so front 5 for Shoemaker. Sounds like Mitch missed a 10-pin. So he has 3 opens now so far. The first half of the game. Oh, no.
Wow, Graham Fodge just went 4-6. Changing.
Absolutely.
Changes.
He was already down a mark, so this is going to hurt. He had won the first game, though, so again, you're not out of it either way, but
he just bounced a pin.
Shoemaker, shaker 7 after the first 5, so he's up 30 in his match. Just big spare for Kyle. Perfectly.
Good quality spare shooting.
Which is obviously in a format or in a tournament like this is very key. When strikes are hard to come by, that's the spare game that you have to be good at right now. And again, like you had talked about with the 2-8, the spare game's a little trickier on this because you can't really curve it at anything comfortably. And shooting a double wood like that when you have to throw it straight is intimidating. Mitch spared in the, looks like the 6th. Or I think he blows the 7th. Brett's up in the 7th now.
7th frame, Troop. Just cuts out the 10. Stouffer did make his spare after the front 4 for David. 7 spare, 9 spare, 9 spare. After the front, no, there was a 7-pin, 3-bagger, 7-pin miss, 10-pin make, and 4-6 for Graham Fox.
Stubler 4-6-7 in the 6th. And he had just opened the frame before, and his opponent had the first 5, so Shoemaker's comfortably ahead in that game.
Appreciate everybody again tuning in. Big thanks to all of the sponsors here at the Bradley Open. Motiv, QubicaAMF, Classic Products, CTD creating the difference, High Five Gear, and 7 Leaf. 10-pin goes for Stouffer.
Looks like Brett might have missed the head pin. Looks like he's shooting the 1-2.
David trying to even up his match.
Makes it.
He trails 1-0. Graham Fox shot 248 in game 1. 4-pin for Grondin, not happy about that. Another 7-pin for Graham Fox just off camera.
Stubler stepping up in the 7th. Coming off of back-to-back opens. And again, his opponent had the first 5, so Stubler needs to kind of find him something here.
Did we know
Which he
what
does.
that match is? Who won the first game?
I do not remember. I was actually just looking at your sheet to see if it was on there.
In the booth with Chris Hester. Good man, legend in these parts. Appreciate him joining me. Jason Uswald has been in the booth, and he will stop by again as well. Certainly before it's time for him to give somebody some checks.
So I asked Tom Doherty if he knew who won game 1 in the Shoemaker-Stubler match, and his response was not Cody. So it looks like Stubler's up 1, but trailing about 50 in game 2, going into the 8th. Graham could still bowl 2-teen. Stauffer's won 250 if he strikes out, so that one's barring disaster. It looks like Stauffer's could even that matchup. Kyle stepping up with the lead and on a strike.
Let's see Kyle here. Again, he trails Joe Grondin in the match. Grondin won the first one 209, 187.
Shoemaker strikes in the 7th and 8th, so he's got 270 going into the 9th. Oh, lean on it. Kyle
Wow.
slapped. He didn't even get to see it.
He had no
He
idea.
knew he thinks he 10-pin. That was a entertaining little late slap out there. Stouffer split in the 9th. Makes that one interesting again.
Well, Stouffer has been just all weekend from a spare shooting perspective. He's done what he's had to do, and he's been up against it too a couple times.
Let's see if he can get it. See if he can get it over there. Yeah. So Graham can still shoot 210, and David can now shoot 223. So
This one not over yet.
nope, David can double and shut that one out. Otherwise, Graham will have a chance. Kyle takes full advantage, as you would expect him to. 10 back. Stubler strikes in the 7th and 8th, but again, Shoemaker's got 279 going into the 9th, so that one looks like it might be 1-1 quickly. Brett stuffs that one. Oh,
And we're going to game 3 there.
looks like at least the 2 matches on whoa. All right, well, Graham is going to have a chance in the 10th now.
Wow. So here's the situation. No matter what happens, Graham Fa now controls the match.
That's all you can ever ask for. Ball in hand, give me a chance.
The Fa Stouffer winner will face the Beasley Shepherd winner. That will be on 33 and 34.
Looks like Beasley has a double up now. Brett struck in the 9th. The Shoemaker match this one will go to Shoemaker, so that one will be 1-1. But obviously the watch of the pair right now is the Grand Fa match, because depending on what Dave does here, if he like we talked about earlier, right down the middle, not wanting to take a chance of getting 6 again, blows 2-11, so Graham now needs a double and 8 to win.
Yeah, I think that was very smart.
Very.
Even considering the circumstance, but you know, Graham's going to need a double no matter what, and then you don't want to make it easier for him by getting 5 on that field.
If you look, David's last 2 shots were 7 and 6, so he wanted to make sure he took that out of play, because again, double and 8, even if you get the double, 8 is not a gimme by any means.
Faz feel like he's left more 7-pins this game. First one, that 7-pin goes late.
Big shot.
What does that hit? What's that hit mean? Like what from, especially when you look at it from that lefty vantage point, that 4 clips that 7 out.
The scary part about that one is just watching his other 7-pins kind of blow the 4 out, and that one going late. And now you have to start questioning, is it hooking too early and stopping? Do I need to make a little move? Knowing me, I would probably just try and cheat a little more left, but I don't know how much more left he has to cheat. But that's honestly on this is where a lot of guys will say they'll come with 2 or 3 balls, the same ball, the same layout, the same surface. And once the surface starts wearing off, you just go to the other one.
Has to have it.
Threw that one good.
Oh, there it is.
That one very good. So 7 tie, 8 win for Graham here. Looks like Brett split in the 10th. That one's hard to see from our angle. Okay. So the report is from better eyes and closer than us that Brett is going to be advancing against Mitch. Kyle evens it up. Shoemaker evens it up. Graham, all eyes on him at the moment.
Needs 8. Has 10.
So that is the only match that is completed. What an absolute clutch finish by the #1 seed there.
Graham Fa advancing.
To know you have to double on this, again, when any emotions might change your tempo and your speed, to be able to control yourself and take a deep breath and throw a double on this when you need to is really impressive. I guess that's why he's the #1 seed. Kyle blows 246 to even that matchup. Yeah, it does look like Brett did beat Mitch Beasley, so both of those matches are complete. And they bowl each other now. So Brett Shepherd against Graham Fa in the round of 4. And the other 2 are 1-1 and go into the deciding game.
All right, hold it down for me. Be right back. Let me go move something.
Okay, will do. If anybody has any questions in the chat that I can answer, I would be more than happy to. Looks like Grundon starts off with a 7-10. Game 3. They're still wrapping up game 3 or game 2 in the Stubler Shoemaker match. This be fun on live stream. No, so he starts with 9 in the first. So Kyle coming off 240 and evening the matchup. Let's see if he could keep that momentum rolling here. And the match at the higher end is just about to start, the deciding game. It's funny that the 2 matches that are done bowl each other now. I'm not sure about the payout, and I definitely don't know the meaning of life. Hi, Mr. Flanagan. Lisa, I didn't bowl. I've not been bowling much at all. As a matter of fact, I bowled the doubles Friday night, and we managed to make it to the finals. And I think that's the most games I've bowled in one day in probably 2 years. So I had given a lot of thought to bowling, And then even bowling, because we were bowling well Friday night, and I'd almost talked myself into it, but I'm getting older, somewhat wiser, and decided that it was just not worth the repercussions if I did decide to do it. But my plan is to not only bowl this, but I do plan on bowling the Kentucky Open this year too. Look at Kyle tripping out the 4-7-10 to start his match with a strike. Shoemaker started with a strike. Looks like Emil's getting it set up, the camera set up for the Graham Fa Brett Shepard match. Good afternoon, Patrick. Robert, I agree. You can make a case for Graham being the best lefty. Graham is insanely good and good at everything. Like we were talking earlier, if he needs to bend it, he can bend it. If he needs to tighten his angles up and go right up the lane, he can excel in that too. It's very impressive. You never feel like going into a tournament that Graham doesn't have a chance no matter what you're bowling on. Ooh, Kyle goes high, 3-6 in the second. Stubler stepping up for his first shot, game 3. Stubler, very light, leaves the 3-7 in the first. Kyle makes his spare, clean through 2. Joe stepping up, coming off a 7-10 in the first. See if he can get this one in there and make Kyle think a little bit. Tripping out the 4 for a strike in the second. Stubler's attempt at the 3-7 upcoming. Misses them both. So he has 8 out in the first. Shoemaker has a strike. The mental warfare, like I was saying earlier, is obviously very high when you're bowling on something like this, where every mistake could easily be amplified. Joe. Oh, shit. Scored. Short pin. Joe flats 10 and a third. But the middle part of this is so important, because if you let your emotions get too up and you get kind of amped up, I mean, you can throw one right through the spot and get 3 very easily on this. So you cannot let yourself get too amped up on this. Emil's got the camera in place for the Shepard Fa match once they start.
If you are just joining us, you are watching the finals of the 2023 Bradley Open from Executive Strike and Spare in Louisville, Kentucky. Emil Williams Jr., Chris Hester in the booth with me. We've got 2 matches down. Graham Fa, the top seed, defeated David Stouffer 2-0. The local product, Brett Shepard, as Troop strikes on the right lane, defeated Mitch Beasley 2-0. It'll be Fa versus Shepard on 33 and 34 once our these 2 round of 8 matches conclude.
Stubler leaves a pretty good 10 pin in the second. Picks it up. Is it just me, or does the ball that Kyle is throwing now look a little shiny? I mean, obviously it's not super shiny, but it certainly looks like it's not as dull as what he had started with.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Kind of moved a little bit to the left and kind of using something that stores energy rather than hooking as soon as it hits the lane, like a lot of the balls that people bring to this, myself included. That is really good. That is really good.
And it's been, the middle part of the lane. And if you watch Kyle throughout the weekend, those of you have been tuning in, and many of you have, you know, again, when we opened up things and thinking like, okay, he's going to try to break down something certainly on the outside, but he eventually migrated back to the middle of the lane, and he has had success since doing that.
Which is always good, because if you are able to do that, because the track is going to hook a little more. Anyways, if you're able to move yourself a little left and keep it inside the track and have that little bit of a hook, that's beautiful. Just not let it get past the track area. Shoemaker 4 9s in the second. Gets 1. And Joe 4-6-10s in the fourth. So Kyle has a comfortable lead so far through 4. The other match is open spare and strike open. So through 2, that one's still pretty much even.
Hello to our guy Mike. Did you see Mike saying hi to you?
No, I didn't. Flanagan. Yes, I did. I'm sorry. I was watching the little reaction there that Cody got Joe's attention and kind of just gave him the calm down a little bit. Hand gesture, let him, and then he steps up and strikes. That was awesome to see. Cody letting him know you're getting a little too amped up, and like we've been talking about, that is disaster on this. So Cody just gave him the take a deep breath, start again, and then he dead flushes the next one. Watching little interactions like that are always fun. And then Cody steps up, dead flushes his in the third. That was the first time. Friday night was the first time that I'd met Cam. And I'm giving everybody 5 and patting them on the back and telling them good luck. And they were like, "What? Is this kid for real? Like, is he really?" Or not kid anymore. Is this old guy for real? I told him I'm pretty sure.
You probably still get carded.
I do, which is awesome. I did tell him Friday night that I'm pretty sure you could have taken any of the other 3 guys in the finals and added their ages together, and I was still the old man, which is mind-blowing to think about. Somehow I became the old guy of the group.
Well, that age, man, that father time comes for us.
It does. It does. It goes quickly.
Hey, Tim, appreciate you being in here, too. I feel like you've added some notes.
Great shot by Stubler. Strikes in the third. So it looks like he has 28 up in the second, and Cody has also 28 up in the second.
First, let me ask you, when you're, for you, in a situation like this, winner take all here in this game, this match, what's been your process or mindset to help you, and I guess win or lose, whatever the result is not important, but what's guiding you through these types of games?
You try, at least personally, I try to not change anything, not change focus. The only thing I would probably do in a situation like this, early in the game 1, early part of game 2, you might, if you split, you might give it a run, stuff like that. In this, you do not do that unless you absolutely need it. It's just get count, forget about that frame, move on to the next one. It's all about, to me, just taking every shot as its own entity, not thinking about what you need, not thinking about if I strike here, what happens, just one shot at a time. Deep breath, and again, I try and stay as even keel as I possibly can. Which, great shot again. Which is tricky, especially like this. You're game 3 knowing that you're just a couple of rounds away from potentially winning this thing. I've never won this thing. I have like 3/4. But just sitting there going, man, I'm 1 match away or 2 match away for a chance to walking out of here with a title. It's hard to not think about, okay, I need a 3-back, or if I double here or anything like that. It's just got to be 1 shot at a time. Stubler 7-pin and spare in the 4th. How about you? What are your thoughts?
A lot of that would be true certainly for me, but you really just gotta almost slow it down, and like Joe has here these last 3 shots have been phenomenal.
Been beautiful.
But you got to slow it down because you cannot allow the moment to overtake
exactly
what you're trying to do. And we hear the term, the phrase process over outcome. If your process changes at all in these situations, the outcome probably won't be what you want it to be.
Completely agree. Great shot by Cody. Oh, think. Did he say? Oh, he struck. Okay. I remember the year we made the TV show at College Nationals. Chris Barnes was doing play-by-play. And he gave a little speech to both teams the night before. And that was one of the things, he focused on. You don't need to overthink things. Let your muscle memory take over.
Oh, that's
nice break by
break.
Kyle.
Huge break there.
Definitely. All these guys have been in a situation like this before, so they can kind of look back at that, good or bad, and put that towards what you're doing now and know, did it work last time? Did I get 2 up? Did I get 2 down? It's just all muscle memory. You've been here before. Just don't over-amplify anything. 1 shot at a time. Another great shot by Cody.
Cody's now on a 4-bagger. He's actually thrown 4 out of 5, right?
3-bagger. Strike open 3-bagger, yeah.
3 out of 4.
Yeah. And Stubler has open, spare, strike, spare.
So Shoemaker with the early advantage. That one is headed to the 5th. Nate about to step up.
Yeah, Joe's dead flush 3 in a row since we saw Cody give him the kind of relax a little hand gesture. Big shot for Kyle. Great shot by Kyle. You'd expect nothing less, but
You know, I'm in the boat of whatever it is you do that makes you you, then you do that.
Absolutely.
So if that's how Joe rolls, that's how Joe rolls.
yep. And you can, you know, not getting angry or anything like that, but I love that Kyle is able to do it the other way. He shows emotion.
Right.
He's running them out and slapping them out, and that's fun to watch. That's just, I used to be that guy, and then I realized, wait a minute, I don't think this is working. Oh, 7-pin for Joe. Looks like
We'll probably do it.
4-7 for Stubler in the 5th.
Not completely, but the way Trooper's got it going. And Joe has given himself at least enough of still a sliver here to keep Kyle honest. Update on other matches. Brett Shepard did defeat Mitch Beasley 2-0. Graham Fa defeated David Stouffer 2-0. It'll be Fa, Shepard in the 1 semifinal. The winner of the Grandin Troop Shoemaker Stubler matches will face off on 37 and 38 next.
Stubler did spare in the 5th, so he has open, spare, strike, spare, spare. This one looks pretty good from Joe, and it just never hooked. I think we can lock that one up now. Barring
Here's the
disaster.
Let me just say this again. Joe is still Joe, and he's wearing KDs. So anybody that's wearing KDs to bowl, you're high on my list.
I was going to say, yeah, that earns him a little more.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he
little
might
more
as well. I'm going to get him some Kobe Grinches to bowl in.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Oh, no. Stubler missing the head pin in the 6. I hadn't even noticed his shoes until you said that. I had to check it out.
No, he's definitely wearing KDs.
That's awesome. So he's got 190 left. Kyle is pacing ahead of that, so it would take something disastrous here, which you don't expect out of Kyle. Trips out the 4 out of the 4-9. Stubler's in danger territory as well. Makes a spare in the 6th. Shoemaker stepping up on a 3-bagger.
I got to chill out on Joe, man. He's fine. he really is okay. Like, seriously. He's good. He's going to be a PBA champion in the future.
Absolutely.
I know y'all might be thinking about that comment and be like, no, there's no way. There's no way I'm watching what I'm watching and that young man can win a championship. Well, he was 3 wins away from doing it a couple weeks ago.
Absolutely. And again, you know, I harken back to what Barnes had said at that little speech he'd given everybody. It's not how you do it. It's as long as you do the same thing every time. That's all that matters. And he seems to do that. Kyle throwing a backup ball just to be cute, showing me how I should have bowled, I guess. Everybody got a good chuckle out of Kyle's backup strike there.
I got you there, Zachary.
So they're wrapping this match up. Troop will advance. Shoemaker now has a 4-bagger, so he's in commanding lead at this point halfway through. And he now has a 5-bagger, so it looks like we're probably Shoemaker and Troop in one match and Graham Fa and Brett Shepard in the other. Thanks for joining us, everybody, once again. We couldn't do what we do without you, so we appreciate the support. We appreciate all the comments. And hoping to see a couple fantastic matches here. I would expect nothing less out of these guys, obviously. Yeah, that's what a lot of people had said, that his backup strike looked better than some of his other strikes. That's what I said. It made me say, man, maybe I should have bowled. Although I would have felt really bad if he outbowled me throwing a backup ball. Stubler striking in the 7th, but his opponent has 260 left going into the 8th. And Stubler has, looks like maybe 220 if he goes out. They're bowling the 8th frame now.
I'm telling you, when Joe wins, y'all gonna look back at this day.
You remember this? Yep.
And remember what you just watched. And everybody's like, oh, Joe is this, you know. And when that dude wins multiple times,
They can say, wait a minute, somebody told me that was going to happen. Shoemaker missing the head, Stubler missing the head pin in the 8th. It looks like that match is all but finished. He can spare and strike out for 2-0, and again, his opponent has 260 going into the 8th. So just waiting for that one to finish up, and then we will have the round of 4. That's a good point, Gary. I guess I wouldn't have had to say if he outballs me. When he outballed me with a backup ball. I'd have kicked him in his shins or something. Stubler misses the spare in the 8th, so that one's all done but finishing. So the next round matches will be Graham Faw and Brett Shepard on 33 and 34. Kyle Troop and Cody Shoemaker on 37-38. Coulter Brett versus Graham. That's like you would expect to see in the Kentucky Open Finals, right? It's fun to see the guys that bowl the stuff around here having success. Cody dead flushes it again in the 8th. He's got 260 going into the 9th. Showing off at this point. Kidding.
appreciate the viewership. Jason Nuttwall certainly does. He is tournament director here at the Bradley Open. An event that is just one of a kind. This is one of those you just got to bowl it to really understand or believe it.
So Jason had told us right before we started that he watched Cam Crow because he had not bowled this before, and he wanted to see kind of the fun is seeing the guys that have never bowled that have heard about it, and then watching them throw their first shot and letting it sink in that while they heard about it, you still had no idea what you were walking into until you actually showed up and bowled. This is its own animal, that's for sure. Zachary, I do believe we will have both matches going here.
Oh yeah, one's already ready to go.
I was going to say, Emil went and moved the cameras to get in place, and at this point we're just waiting for that match to end, which they're bowling the 10th frame now. So we are about ready for your round of 4. Let us know in the chat who you're rooting for, who's going to win this. Graham is now the lone lefty, I guess, unless you count Cal's backup ball. But even losing here, if you haven't tuned in all weekend and you're just tuning in now and kind of getting your impression on some of the guys just based off what you're seeing, you also got to think how well they bowled to get here in the first place.
And listen, let me say this one more time. And I'm not trying to. All of you, have your opinions certainly on how Joe expresses himself, and that's Joe's business. And he did not affect any player.
Absolutely.
That's also very important.
Very.
But let me just tell you what he did today. Earlier. 180, 243, 257, 215, 203, 247. He went plus 145.
Which is
this morning.
Unthinkable, especially on Sunday. Anybody that's in the chat and listening that have bowled this event and made it to Sunday, they are so much tighter on Sunday. Every rerun they get tighter. So by today, you can't believe that they're tighter than they were on Saturday, but they are. So that is doubly impressive.
Here's the deal. finding out Joe's shoe size. And maybe we can just make it a thing. Like, hey, Joe, what sneakers are we wearing this week?
That would be awesome because those are sharp, I'll tell you that. So the Stubler Shoemaker match has completed. Shoemaker getting his stuff and moving on down to bowl Mr. Troop.
All right, I'm going to go make a quick change.
We kind of have all kinds of options. We have one lefty, one two-hander. Just goes to show that no matter what your style is, no matter what hand you're using, it's all about shot making, spare making, and just doing your thing. Usually when you see a lefty, you expect all the lefties to be running him over. Graham's the only one left. When you see a two-hander, you're like, oh man, the two-handers are running him over. There's only one left. Just goes to show you do your thing, bowl your game, stay within yourself, and definitely on this, there's a premium on spares. That you can do your whatever you do as long as you do it the same way every time. That's what matters.
Is your number 1 seed, Graham Fox, bowling your 5 seed, Brett Shepard.
Number 1, Graham Fogg. It's number 5, Brett Shepard.
And your 3 seed, Cody Shoemaker.
3 seed, Cody Shoemaker against 7 seed,
37-38.
Kyle Troop. So let us know in the chat who you got. We are our worst critic. That's a fact. I am extremely guilty of that, so I can agree with that comment completely, wholeheartedly. We wait for Kyle and Cody to get their balls ready to go, and then I believe they get 5 minutes of practice this round on the new pair that's been sitting, which again, if you've bowled this event or if you bowled any event where they're harder, you will see that as the lanes sit and the oil settles, they get tighter.
That seems to be the most simple.
Yeah, they did announce. There's some question now over whether or not you can surface a ball in between the round of 8 and the round of 4. So we are grabbing the tournament director and making a ruling on that. It looks like we might have had a player put some surface on a ball thinking that it was okay because it was a different round. So as we wait for that ruling, and then we will get started. Just a smidge of a delay, nothing too crazy. Decent crowd here. Yeah, I heard Kyle talking about it. So it looks like we had a player put some surface on a couple balls, but they had made an announcement that you could not do that between the round of 4 and the round of, or excuse me, the round of 8 and the round of 4. So that player now has a ball that they can't use. So they're putting that away, which is good. Put it away, take all the guesswork out from anybody watching whether or not somebody tried to sneak one in. So he just moved it away from the competition, so there was no question, no hesitation, no nothing. So we are turning them on for 5 minutes of practice, and then we'll be ready to go. Like to see all the fans that have turned out in the bowling center as well as in the chat watching. We appreciate every single one of you. We know that you could be doing anything with your day, so spending some time on Sunday with us will never go unnoticed. We greatly appreciate it. This should be a fun round to watch. every round you get into, you're always curious how guys that may have never been here before are going to react. Guys that have been here before, that are they able to keep their heads about them and do their thing or try something different? I'm always curious to see if anybody's going to attempt to play defense when it comes to breaking them down. Anybody that knows me knows that I'm not a huge fan of that, but to each their own. Part of the game. Obviously, the Graham Fopp Red Shepherd match would be tricky for them to play defense on each other, unless you just wanted to do it just to do it. I don't know if, I'll have to ask Emil, I don't know if it's our place to talk about who just had the ball server situation or just say that one of the players did. Got a couple minutes left of practice. Great bowling all weekend by the 4 that did get knocked out that round. There's no egg on their face. There's nothing to leave here upset about. That's a heck of a weekend of bowling. This is a very demanding tournament, not only physically but mentally. If you're able to make it through this thing mentally unscathed, then you are stronger minded than I am. This thing always, the next day, takes a while to recover from both body and brain. And your mental game in something like this gets overlooked just because of how hard the pattern is. You automatically think physical game, but your mental game is just as important as something like this. I see somebody said the pattern they should call plaid. I actually said this morning they should just call the pattern brutal. Just name it brutal from now on. Jason Utchwald does make small adjustments to the pattern every year just to ensure that the guys and girls are not bowling on the same thing year after year after year. He does make tweaks to the pattern just to ensure they're just enough different to keep you on your toes, which is also good. That way you don't get the same style or the same person coming in and dominating year after year. This is just enough different that surface-wise, core-wise, hand position-wise, you're going to have to do something a little different than you did last year. Welcome Emil back.
Well, all right.
Just under a minute left of practice, so we're about ready to go. Any of the locals that are on the chat that want to come bowl in Jeremy Thomas's Baker's Doubles tonight, I will actually be participating, so I'll welcome slushy bets.
Slushy, but from where?
Yeah. Oh, they put an icy machine in here, so.
Okay.
Yeah, I got a picture Friday night from somebody saying, Doug Aston telling me that they had a slushy or an icy machine now to bet, and usually whenever Chad Roberts and I are bowling an event together, we have a slushy bet. So now they have an icy machine here, and Chad was not able to make it this year. So I will take that to the Baker's Doubles tonight and try and find some slushy bets. And we're ready to rock.
All right, first poll up. Let me know if you can see it. It's at the top of the chat, or at least it should be. It's a poll on who will win our first semifinal, Graham Fa or Graham Fa. Chad Roberts says yes, he wants some, as you mentioned.
As soon as I saw the picture, I challenged him to one. He let me know he wasn't going to make it.
Fa or Shepard. And the finals will be on 35 and 36.
Looks like Brett may be the first one to throw a shot. Kyle and Cody are having a brief conversation. Little half 10 to start for Brett.
So now we can, some of the things you mentioned earlier about Brett, his game, things that kind of separate him, we can kind of see those, and you can kind of break them down as well.
He's really developed some pretty good kind of, I like to call tricks with his hand positions that when we first started bowling together he didn't do. He was, I'm just going to out-curve everybody. But as he's gotten older and wiser, he's fine-tuned some things, and it's pretty awesome to watch. Good shot by Cody in the first frame, leaving a half 10. Graham washing out on the first ball. Brett did make his 10-pin. And Shoemaker is now shooting his, both quality shots. Cody covers his. Goes Graham shooting at his washouts. And Graham covers his washout. So Brett and Graham both spare through one. Kyle Troop stepping up to throw his first ball.
Under 14 votes worth, Graham Fa won that poll, 68% to 32%. Let's take a look at his next shot.
That looks like a different ball than he threw in the first frame.
100%. Now this is a guess, but someone asked earlier what Graham was throwing, and he said it was a Polaris Solid. It looked similar, but I'm not sure.
Let's see if we see it come out. It does look like a Polaris. Kyle covers the 3-6 on the first, so Kyle and Cody both spare in their first. No strikes so far from any of the players, which again, I thought that's why there's such a premium on your spare shooting in this event. Kyle stepping up here in the second. Here's Kyle's second frame. Very nice. Kyle has spare strike. Now Brett stepping up here in the second. Graham has 7 spare, 9 spare to start. Great shot by Mr. Shepard. So he has hit the pocket both times. Half 10, and that one was 10 back. Now we got Shoemaker stepping up. That curve. That one hooked early and slapping the 10 out. Great shot by both players.
Someone has asked in the chat, are they bowling on fresh? And yes, they are. Every match will essentially be on fresh. They're moving to pairs that have not been bowled on.
Which I was saying, I think when you're moving the cameras around, it's always interesting to see, because the more you let the oils sit, the more it kind of flattens itself out, and they become even trickier.
Let me actually just give me any example that you might think of, but when you've had to experience that and how it's affected you as a player in varying situations.
Whenever I'm going to, say if I'm any of these players, I can assure you my practice shots are all going to be into the lane smoother and quicker, because I'm going to need that whole lane to get my ball to hook at some point. So if I try and make sure that My first few shots are smooth into the lane with as quick into the lane as possible. Vinny would always try and get it in front of the foul line. He would try and lay it down before the foul line. I'm not that good, but I do try and get it into the lane and into a roll as quick as possible.
Did you say Vinny?
Vinny.
Atria?
Vinny Atria, yes sir.
I don't know where I saw him bowl, but many times I've seen him.
He would always tell me when we were bowling stuff like the mini eliminator back in the day that he would try and get his ball started on the approach. Brett getting a deadwood out there, so we'll leave it on Kyle, who 210. Graham stepping up here in the second. Third, Brett has spare, strike, spare. Graham has spare, spare after 2. And Graham absolutely stuffs that one. So he threw a different ball in the first and washed out, and then changed balls in the second, is gone. Great shot, great shot. Kyle wrapping the 2 around the 10, which is very frustrating. It's one of those things about this game that just make you, I would say, pull your hair out, but I have none, and Kyle can't mess up his furrow, so he ain't pulling out any hair either. Graham up here in the fourth. Goes a little high for a 6-pin. Those players are just kind of in a battle to start, both right around the pocket. Yes, it is still 2 out of 3.
2 out of 3 the entire bracket.
Fantastic shot by Mr. Troop.
Not sure what balls, essentially, if there were multiple, that Kyle won't be able to toss.
So I had told him that somebody had done that. I didn't know if we should go into detail on what exactly happened. So I'll leave that to you.
Ultimately, there was a missed rule. At least Kyle didn't hear it, but they announced just before practice, the start of the round of 8, that you cannot resurface equipment after practice.
In the round of 8.
Correct. You could do it during, before, obviously, but once competition actually began for score, you cannot then resurface throughout the rest of the bracket. Kyle missed that and was servicing the ball, and then, of course, they had to then pull that ball.
I believe he actually already did one and then was in the process of doing his second one. So he had 2 balls that he had to throw out, which is why he has now started with a shiny ball, because I believe that's all he has left.
Unfortunate situation, but that is what has happened. We just simply report the facts.
Correct. Brett strikes in the fourth. He's missing a 5-pin here, so we'll take a quick re-rack. Cody spares in the fourth. So after 4, Brett has spare, strike, spare, strike. Graham has spare, spare, strike, spare, and it looks like there may be a deck jam on 33 that they are working on. Sweeping it out. Let's see, it was stuck and then it was missing a pin. Hopefully we're good to go now. Nope, they're working on it. So we'll keep it on Cody here in the 5th while we wait for the mechanic to get 33 in order. Flat 10 there by Cody. It's very interesting to be this close and watching so I can see how early Cody's ball's hooking. I mean, it is hooking at the dots and then just staying there, which is kind of what I try and do when I bowl this as well. So I can relate to that one. Shooting his 10-pin here in the 5th. Kyle working on a strike. Looks like they do have 33 ready to go. So Brett will be stepping up momentarily. Cody covers his spare. So Kyle can throw a strike here and get right back in this match.
It's been cool getting to, not necessarily I haven't had too many personal conversations with Cody Shoemaker, but learning that he has given an outlet on tour. 9-pin won't go for Brett. But clearly Cody, he's a player.
He certainly appears to be. See what Kyle can get done here. That's a pretty good shot off his hand. Again, he's even more impressive knowing that he's sort of handcuffed here. Still staying right there in the match.
Well, if you look back to the way the opening match went for him, where he started, what he was trying to do, at least what we think he was trying to accomplish, breaking down apart. He ended up moving to the middle part of the lane anyway.
Correct.
But I think he was obviously with definitely the one, I don't remember what it was. Maybe there was the DNA, I don't recall. But one that was providing some success.
That is correct. They made an announcement as the round of 8 was getting ready that you could not change surface after that practice session. Chad, your thinking right there is the exact same thing what Kyle thought. Is if you get practice in between, then you can change surfaces in between. But they did make an announcement prior to beginning that you could not do that. Looks like Graham left a bucket. Brett did cover his spare. Kyle stepping up here in the 6th. Another great shot by Kyle. Keeping himself right in the ball game. Oh, Graham missing his spare.
Well, you always anticipate the finals of any kind to provide an extra layer of something. Typically the word used around is, could be drama, whatever the word you want to use is, and I've seen a little bit of that so far here today, and we're not even close to being done.
One is, it's also intriguing to think about the fact that if Kyle does make it through this round, those two balls or ball or whatever one it was is still out of play. So he is definitely facing some adversity here. Great shot by Graham. Bouncing right back after his open. Cody strikes in the 6th. He is up 19 as they both players head into the 7th on a strike.
All right, Cody will go first. Tournament actually began on Friday with 2 side events, the Fairchild single shootout and the classic double shootout. Just watch that thing just peel and roll off the gutter. That has been a preferred way to play the lanes today. I feel we saw,
Got a little quick with that one. Yep. He was really waving that one off, trying to hope it didn't wash out.
There were a few players select. Sorry, finish that thought.
Oh, I was just saying, he got through that one really. You could tell his arm swing got very quick. He knew it immediately that you could see him almost trying to decelerate because he knew it was going quick and just couldn't. Brett shooting up, getting up to shoot the washout. Interesting way to get 3, but he got count. So that matches back to a nail biter as both players now have an open. Kyle spares in the 7th. Brett is stepping up in the 7th. Cody does have a very good look, that is for sure. I tell everybody in this thing, when I used to bowl this all the time, and they ask me how I played him, I would say, throw it over my right foot and put my left thumb in my right ear, and I had a chance. Oh gosh, Brett with another 9-pin. He texted me after the last one. I wonder what he's going to have to say after that one.
Is there a slight move to be made, considering what they're bowling on?
That's the tricky decision to make. I don't think that I would. Again, I think my move would be more getting into the lane quicker or delaying, lofting it just a little more. I don't think you can move off that spot at this point, especially being that this is a fresh pair. You move off that spot, you're moving right back into fresh, and that's scary, in my opinion, for what it's worth.
So you're about to see the resolve here of Kyle Troop.
Plugging right along.
Makes the spare. He's behind in multiple ways and trying to make something work.
And to his credit, it would have been very easy to come unglued right there when he found that out and just be a mental basket case right now. But he's taking it in stride and just working with what he can. That's the sign of a professional.
All right, Cody.
In my humble opinion, he has the best look to the pocket right now of the four. As I say that, he goes high, but still, it seems like it's hooking in the right spot at least. Graham spares up in the 7th.
When you for the viewers who may be wondering what does that mean now? And I meant to mention, didn't know if you saw it, but there was a comment for you, thanking you for the analysis and tips you're providing. But excuse me, for you, you just said hooking in the right spot.
Correct.
If you can break that down for a viewer who may be wondering what you mean.
Absolutely. In an event like this, and I can say not only just personally, but just watching the rest of the ball reactions, you can't rely on something here to hook late. If you're counting on something to hook down lane in the back end, you're in a lot of trouble because the ball's just it's typically never going to read, especially on the fresh. So the idea on something like this is getting your ball into a roll as quickly as possible and then letting it kind of set up and roll into the pocket, which Cody is doing a very good job of getting his ball to hook before, right after the dots, and it just hooks and stops, which is kind of ideal because if you're counting on your ball hooking down lane, it's not going to happen. So the later you're delaying your hook spot, the more you're bringing 6 into play. And again, any combination of 6, I don't care where they are, is not fun to shoot on this. Which was part of the reason you can guess that Kyle really was hoping to use the balls with some surface on them, because obviously the more the surface on the ball helps it hook a little quicker, which is your ideal spot in this kind of event. Brett stepping up after his 9-pin. That,
wow,
I will say, was not the best rack in the world. That was a horrific break either way, which puts Graham a mark ahead in that game. Match in front of us, Kyle can shoot 193. Cody is pacing 210. Brett getting 1 in the 710. You can shoot 192, which is right at what Graham is pacing at. So neither match is completely over just yet. Looks like Kyle might be moving to the right.
Big jump right here for Troop.
Now, my thought process there, if I'm Kyle, and I'm thinking through Kyle, is maybe at this point he thought he could move to where Cody was playing and use some of the burn that Cody was creating. But again, without having service on your ball, it's just so hard to get it to hook in the front part of the lane. And it just, as you saw there, it just never picked up. Brett kicks the 9 out of the 7-9. So Shoemaker is going to win game 1. And we will see Graham stepping up here in the 9th. Has, like we say, ball in hand. And the match in his control at this point. Interesting to see Cody do that, in my opinion. Because again, in my opinion, you do that because if you throw a couple more shots with surface, you're just helping your opponent at this point. So he is not going to do that. He is not going to do anything to help Kyle, I can assure you. No bad blood, no ill intent. It's just that's your opponent. You don't need to be helping him. Graham strikes him. Sorry.
I think he did that in his previous match, too.
Did he? Okay. Yeah, it makes sense. The more shots you throw, the more it's going to hook. And if you know your opponent's kind of handcuffed and you have the match in hand, the less amount of surface you can throw, the less you're helping your opponent. Graham stepping up in the 10th on a double. Needs a mark to close this one out. And that, as they say, is the best kind of mark.
Wow.
So Graham Fall will be up 1-0. Cody Shoemaker up 1-0.
Good question by John McCarthy. Hope all is well, too. You know, I do think, and I heard actually players say this week that there were some times where they may have used too much surface. John's
Correct.
question was, how much surface is too much, do you think? You know, there were players that had 80 grit out there.
Absolutely. I was in the shop a minute ago and saw a 320 piece of sandpaper. But I also saw a ball in there that I'm not sure what was used on it. Tyler Slayball's ball. He was one of the ones that drilled something and then just sanded it down as much as he could and then came back and said, okay, that was too much. Because even then, if you put too much surface on it, you're hurting yourself as well, because then it's going to hook too much in the front and you can't move and throw it to that spot. You're still going to have to use that early part of the lane, and if you put too much surface on it, you've now handcuffed yourself to where you have to just throw that up the lane because you're not able to throw it to a spot because the surface just won't allow it. So I would guess there's several guys that used 320 and above, you know, up to 500, so on and so forth. I don't know if 180 probably was too much in my opinion.
There was some, I don't know if the 180 was used, but it was in the building. 80 was in the building.
Oh, I've heard drywall screens were in the building, everything.
Screen was definitely in the building and used by many.
So Kyle went to a different ball to start this game and struck. Cody starts with a 4-9. Brett shooting 3-6-10, chops the 3 back. That is one that, well, that was in the 10th, so that was probably trying to just get a look more than anything.
Not what he was hoping for either.
Correct. You're looking for a look and you hit the 3 right in the face. That's not exactly enticing.
I mean, if there was a surface to kind of settle on, per se.
No, I'm still here.
So I just had one of the guys watching say that Mr. Shepard is using 100 grit.
Well, there you go.
That's interesting. You were going to say something. I didn't mean to interrupt you. See, you start getting older. That mind just, you can't remember. I'm the same way.
Yeah, I got 2 kids, too.
Oh, that I definitely can understand.
I think it had to do with surface and grip. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll get back to it.
Cody stepping up after the 4-9. That one hooked.
Oh.
See how quick that's hooking?
I know what it was. It
that's how
was a great shot. 360, and I was going to say, if there was I don't know if there was like a preferred surface number.
Correct.
But, 360 seemed to be pretty popular.
I could see that. I know the last one of these I bowled, I came in with a couple balls at 500, and they had no chance. But as a low rev guy, I kind of rely on that surface to get my ball rolling, and I was very gun shy of going any lower than 500, but I quickly learned that I should have. Kyle stepping up in the second. That one just doesn't see it. That one bounced a little bit and just kept going right.
He's just got to be perfect.
That's a lot to ask, even in the best in the world.
On this, and again, top 5 player in the world.
Oh, great shot by Brett. I think that might be kind of a misconception a lot of people have that I had for a long time, is you feel like, the guys on tour, especially the guys at Kyle's level,
Nice spare.
throw everyone perfect. And that, if you have to throw every ball perfect and the perfect spot, the same perfect spot every time, you're probably not going to win no matter what you're bowling on. The idea is figuring out how to give yourself enough leeway to not have to throw everyone perfect. So even asking somebody at Kyle's level to throw every one of them exactly perfect is an impossible ask. But let's see what he can do. Coming off an incredible spare. That one, again, just got a little right off his hand and unfortunately just misses that spot. Brett stepping up after a really good 10-pin. Fantastic shot there.
1-2-6-8.
That's a different one.
That is a leave of the day material right there.
Coming off his 5-count washout. See if he can find a way to make this one work. Making this one with a sleeper. We're going to see a backup on it? No.
That's online.
No, what a terrible break.
That was very difficult to shoot.
That was a heck of an effort by Kyle. Graham stepping up in the second. Just doesn't get there.
7-pin barely fell there.
Barely. And his shot in the first, I think he tried to fit and it went a little high. So seems like he might be kind of in between at the moment. Cody has gone 4-9 and then struck in the second, up here in the third. He did not like how quick that one hooked. You could tell immediately. As soon as that one hooked, he kind of dropped his shoulders like, oh no. Very nice spare by Graham. So Cody has split strike and split in the third, so that matches very tight through 3. Right, and then Brett spare strike, Graham spare spare. Curious to see what Graham does here, coming off the almost 3-6-7-9. I see somebody ask what my best finish in this event was. I have 3 losing in the round of 4, so whatever you want to call that. 3rd or 4th. I've never made the finals.
3rd, 4th, tie, whatever situation.
The one time I thought I did was one of my fun stories that I like to tell because I needed to double on the 10th to beat Ted Hannes. And Ted did the Ted Hannes thing in the 10th where he re-racked a couple times and walked around 3 or 4 times, and then I needed to double in the 10th. Another one just hooked a little too quick for Cody. And that was back in my a little wilder slap him out days, and I needed to double to beat him, and I struck on the first one and 2 lanes over slapping it out. And the second one I just dead posted at the foul line and 7-9'd and tucked my tail and went back home.
When you say that, good spare here by
Spare
Cody. When you say that, you know, because those who don't know what doing Ted Hannes doing his thing, was he like just kind of slowing the pace down a little bit?
He definitely likes to do that. If his opponent is gaining a lead, he will. He's got the Norm Duke in him. He'll go change tape a couple times. He'll re-rack a couple times. He'll wander around, take a drink, and you're just like, does he know we're still bowling? But it's all. Originally, I kind of thought it was him composing himself, and then once the more I got to know Ted and talk to him, I realized that was not exactly all he was doing. Great shot by Kyle for ring 10 there.
The ball did everything but. That pins did everything but get the 10. Good spare again from Brett Shepard. A couple of 3-10 makes we've seen by Shoemaker and then Shepard.
Which again, that is not that that's ever an easy spare, but it's definitely not on this. It's very difficult to get your ball to continue enough to. Oh, get over there. All right, Kyle grazes the 10. So that match, Kyle is up 8 going into the 5th. Brett is up 4 going into the 4th. Another great shot by Brett.
maybe with the 100 grit.
I would venture to say so. And that's his last 3 or 4 shots on that lane have either 9-pinned or struck. I think he 10-pinned in the first. But it seems like he's got that lane where he wants it. That one looks okay. Great shot by Kyle. Very impressive. Graham stepping up in the fourth. Slaps a 7 right out of there like Graham does. Now Cody stepping up here in the fifth. Down 8.
There was someone asking about what Kyle's ball speed was, and I've been looking for it,
Doesn't appear to be showing
but it doesn't
on this
look
pair.
Yeah.
Hits like Cody just had there where it kind of dices in front of it. That and the flat corner are the chance you take with that super early hook. But again, I would rather know my ball is going to have a chance to hit in the pocket and take 6 out of play. Unless, like, his ball started to just seemingly hook earlier and earlier where it starts to get in that danger zone. But he currently seems to have a fairly good look. Curving it across to the 7, makes that one. Graham 7 pins in the fifth. So both matches still pretty even through half of the game.
Shout out to my man Ryan Council. I see you. And listen, if there's anything that makes sense, I'm always open to working and having more events to stream on Bullstream TV. One, and certainly hanging out, catching up with you. But yeah, let me know. Let's put something together.
So I'll have to make a conscious effort to watch. It does look like it just showed the last ball speed of Cody, so I'll have to see what it says when Kyle bowls. Another little half dicer 7 for Cody, back to back.
Prize fund. We'll talk about that after this shot.
That looked pretty good off his hand. That's where it gets tricky when they start to hook that much from that spot. It's just a nightmare trying to figure out where to go from there.
Each losing semifinalist will receive $2,200 each. The quarterfinalists, so those who lost the first round match, each received $1,100. Ninth place was $1,000. 10th was $800. 11th through 20th was $650.
Fantastic spare by Brett. Sorry, don't mean to interrupt you.
Oh,
but
no.
3, 6, 9, 10 that's a bear when they're easy.
Take a bow, my friend. You should be applauded.
Absolutely.
11th through 20th, 650. 21st through 30th, 625. 31st through 40th, 600. Total 46,850. Chris Hester is in the booth. My name is Emil Williams Jr. Semifinals, then Bradley Open. Winners to move on to the finals for $12,500 to the winner. Second place 5K.
Brett with another 9-pin on the left lane. I think that's 3 so far through 2 games.
How much of this right now for Brett specifically, as this is game 2 of these matches, and Brett, of course, down a game. His opponent throughout these matches has really not lost the pocket whatsoever.
Correct.
Here or there, tough shot, but he's been, speaking of Graham, really good. Going back to the talking about subtle moves and how to kick a 9-pin, he doesn't really have much time left.
Not at all.
How much do you weigh that into your risk-reward factor?
Personally, I do not. But again, and this is going to sound, I don't know, kind of crazy coming from a lefty because I can't imagine what the chat's going to say. But knowing on our side, oh gosh, that any move at this point is like moving an arrow, because even though they are fresh, the characteristics of the lane, the right side will always have just a little more, just because of the traffic, a little more shape to it. So as a lefty, I would be terrified to make that move, because I'm moving to a part of the lane where it's likely never going to see the lane again. So to me, that would be maybe a ball speed change, or a try and get, through it a little more up the back of it to get it to not try and go sideways through the pins, which somehow his ball looks to be doing, which doesn't make sense on this. But I always tell everybody we play a different game than you all do, because we don't get to see the traffic of it, which is good and bad, believe it or not. Now here comes to see what Brett's going to do. Graham throwing a double. It's getting very close to do or die time for Brett. Kyle missing the washout, puts that match right back to intriguing levels. Brett stepping up.
Again, update, just to let you know if you have forgot, just joining us. Shoemaker leads Troop 1-0. Fa leads Shepherd 1-0. These are best of 3 matches.
It does look like he moved a little left on that one. And it got back, so well done. I do have to give Brett a shout out for his Athletes versus Chromes jersey. Cody stepping up in the 7th. That one got down the lane a little further than the previous ones.
Shoemaker started split, strike, split, made the 310. 2 7-pins. And now getting back into the strike column here in the 7th. Shepherd.
Oh, he didn't like it. Nope, creeps high 4-7.
It feels like Brett is actually losing this game currently, the way some of the breaks and some of the things he's left, right?
Correct.
3-10, 3-6-9, 10, a couple of 9-pins, all in this game.
Yeah, and this is where watching how he, and another, wow, 7-pin for Cody. What? Because Brett is another guy that will let his emotions show. So it's interesting to see how he's going to combat all this, because he's left, I think, 3 9-pins on the left lane in this match so far. So not letting that get in your head and change what you're doing is important and hard.
Pretty impressed here that Shoemaker hooks at these 7-pins like this.
I agree completely. I was thinking gutsy. Impressive is also a way to see it.
The gutsy is also, it also applies here. And I can't say that he doesn't do it often, because I haven't seen him shoot a 7-pin.
Right. Graham absolutely obliterated that rack, so he's got a triple going into the 9th. Kyle stepping up here can actually put himself, let's see, yeah, he can put some pressure right back on Cody here. And oh, that's right. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Kyle has 199 left. That one was, let's see, 16.2? 16.21. Taking a re-rack. Graham steps up here on a triple. 10 back again. Graham just doing what he does.
Just clutches up every time.
And the one time that didn't hit the pocket, he washed out and picked it clean. So, I mean, that's Graham doing what he does. It is very fun and frustrating to watch. Fun from back here, frustrating when you're bowling against him. He just keeps it in the pocket over and over and over. That is going to be, oh, he tripped it out, but even still, that one's pretty much in the books. Kyle stepping up. Actually in the lead here going into the ninth.
Turn your phones off. 4 people bowling in the whole bowling center. Come on, man. Good Lord. Just pile it on. Sorry I bowling pool.
I don't think we need to say anything about that. I think it spoke for itself. Now I do want to say, anybody in the chat that may have seen that, heard that, anything that was going to think maybe poorly on Kyle, there's no need to. He is up against quite a bit right now, based on a simple misunderstanding. So you kind of got to give him a pass. Brett with a good shot there. I do see a couple people asking. There was a phone that went off as he was throwing his shot there.
It's been an interesting last, I don't know, 30 minutes.
Definitely.
Just to recap it for you, as Shoemaker strikes here in the ninth, which was very important. Back over to Shepard real quick. He will be finishing things out. Kyle is without 2 bowling balls. He was surfacing in between rounds. There was an announcement made prior to the start of practice for the round of 8. So when the bracket began, the announcement was made, you can alter your surface, but you cannot alter your surface basically once the round of 8 starts for the rest of the bracket. He missed that announcement. And so once he won his first match, he began to resurface. And of course, it was seen, and then obviously they had to take the 2 balls out of play. And so he's been trying to make what he has left work. And then of course, obviously, he's gonna up against it, a very good opponent in Cody Shoemaker. And he has to be perfect. He's trying to fit it in. And then, of course, the most recent thing, someone's phone goes off while he's trying to double, essentially.
Cody spares in the first ball in the 10th. He can shoot 175. Kyle can still strike out for 179.
Test 1, 2.
Graham Fall has defeated Brett Shepard. So he will be moving on.
We good? We good? Check it, check it.
So Cody finishes with 174. Kyle can double 6 to extend this match.
All right, we should be good. My apologies. I pressed the wrong button while switching. Okay. A chance has to have the first. It's online.
He likes it. There's one. Great shot. One more and 6. And we go to game 3.
I'm just going to turn my phone off.
Right. Fortunately, I had made sure all my alarms and everything off when we were at church, because I've made that mistake before. So I know mine's off now. My wife just texted me to let me know that they can hear better now, so that's good.
I don't know what happened there.
Well, somebody in there said they wondered if we were being quieter because we're right behind the players, and I believe that has at least something to do with it.
Yeah, it was part of it, but somehow the meter was dropped. But I will be Hearing it now. Must strike. Troop.
Gonna reset.
Yeah, this is a young man who is one player of the year, has been on top of the PBA. It just goes to show it doesn't matter really what event or tournament. The adversity can get you anywhere. Needs
Likes it.
Oh,
Great job.
Kyle Troop mixes them together.
Very nice. 6 here, and we go to game 3.
Now, we've been talking about people throwing, you know, right at the head pin on field shots, etc., and so forth. I don't see that happening here. Do you?
I don't, but not having a ball with surface, I think I would, but I don't see him doing that. He seems to have had pretty good control of the pocket the last 4 balls, so. Six is overtime, and that's good enough. So we go to game 3. Graham Fa has advanced to the finals. We go to a tie-breaking game between Cody Shoemaker and Kyle Troop.
This is like a game 7 feel to it.
It does, especially after the distraction earlier. It's everybody's kind of on pins and needles, which is just adds to the excitement. Also adds to players being able to control emotions, which is important. So here we go. Cody stepping up in the first. Oof. Very flat 10, almost. That 8 wasn't super exciting to watch slot off the back of the deck. That was a fortunate 9, I think. Spare conversion from Cody.
So I never looked at these poll results, and this was before, well, it was right as we were about to begin this match. Then we explained the situation of what happened with the surface and the bowling balls. And I'm curious, I'm going to rerun the poll. Kyle won the poll 69% to 30. I think if we had reran it again, after knowing the situation, it might have changed.
I agree completely.
Now, it's anybody's game.
That one hooked pretty quick. There you go. And again, it looks like the surface on Cody's ball has given Kyle a little bit to play with. So this one's anybody's game.
Chris Hester in the booth. My name is Emil Williams Jr., courtesy of Ballstream TV. This is just a semifinal, and it's got championship vibes written all over it.
Most certainly does.
Everything you'd want to develop with storylines and such, we got in one match.
Oh, man, that was a good shot off his hand, too. Horrible break.
Posted that one as well. Tim, the situation, and if anyone is just joining us, this is semifinal 2. Graham Fa defeated Brett Shepard 2-0. Graham has won 4 consecutive games. He swept both of his matches, and he is on to the championship match. He will face either Kyle Troop or Cody Shoemaker. In the situation, after the first round of matches, Kyle went to resurface his equipment. There was an announcement made prior to the start of the round of 8 of the bracket finals that you can alter surface only through practice of the round of 8. That's it. Not in between matches. Kyle did not hear that. And of course, used to being able to, in other events, wherever they bowl, of course, make adjustments. That is not the case. And so he had already done 1.5 balls, I think. It's shot by a shoemaker. And
Ball
so
change.
those two balls were then, of course, then removed from play. And he's gutting it out.
Absolutely. Now, I've seen 2 questions. I'll get to McCarthy's in a second, but I just got a text message that said, could Kyle drill a ball before the finals? And I don't see why he couldn't.
Guess it's possible.
And to answer John's question, I had thought that Graham had won this before, but I found out that he did not. So, no, we do not have a previous winner left in the field.
Yes, there will be a new champion, but Graham has finished second.
Cody changed balls in the second, and even he's surprised at how much that one hooked. This one is going to be a grind-out game to see who makes the finals. See if he gives us a run.
I mean,
he's got a chance.
When this match began, again, coming off what Kyle had just had to do, it's like, okay, he clearly doesn't have the picture that he originally had planned.
Correct.
I'm sure he might have been some replication of what he had already done in the first round. So then he's got to have to quickly adjust his plan on the fly. It didn't look good at first, certainly, and you understand that. Meanwhile, and listen, you got to give credit to Cody Shoemaker, too. Cody has to do what he has to do.
Absolutely.
He's got to go bowl and win.
Absolutely.
And he was doing that very well until this last game where, you know, he started to leave a couple splits, a couple 7-pins wouldn't fall. Carey started to get a little iffy. And then all of a sudden, Kyle Troop making some moves in, trying a couple of different balls, adjusting his game plan until at least he felt like, I think he can get to the pocket consistently. He still, I think, got to be very perfect.
Absolutely.
You know, his miss in, there's a 4-9, which is what you don't want, obviously.
Right. Now, the question that I have is, if you were Cody, would you have gone away from the ball that gave you the pocket, knowing your opponent is kind of handcuffed, or would you just control the pocket and try to bowl 190?
In this situation, I don't think I would have changed personally. Because Kyle has to be spot on every single time.
Right.
I would have taken my chances with kind of what's gotten me to this point and trust in my abilities, I guess, at that point to outlast what would be greatness for Kyle to come back and win this match.
I completely agree. And you also have to, if I was in Cody's position, I would never argue with the decision a player makes. They're out there, I'm not. But the match you lost to 179. So if I know I have a ball that I can get 9 with, I'm probably going to stay with that one. But again, they're out there. We're back here.
Sure.
I'm not going to knock any decision. Very nice shot. You could see that one was a little more direct with a little more speed. I think he knows that he can, based on how much that first one hooked, I think he knows he can be a little more aggressive with it now.
Yeah, the other thing too, right? I mean, Cody also understands his opponent. And despite what the situation is for Kyle, he still knows he's bowling Kyle.
He's still Kyle, exactly.
And so, the mindset could have been, hey, listen, he probably watched Kyle's 10 frame, knowing that, hey, maybe he's getting a little closer with this ball that he's throwing. And so I might have to throw more strikes this game.
That is true. And to answer Andrew's question, both players will get 5 minutes of practice on the championship pair. Wow. Another very good shot.
Jeremy Thomas was supposed to run a tournament.
Yeah, I just realized I'm supposed to start bowling in 30 minutes. I'm gonna hope that he waits until this is over, but there's still another match to go. So I'm not sure what he's gonna do. Supposed to start at 5 o'clock.
We still could get there.
We could, very true.
I mean, you can't leave now, bro.
No, I'm not. I'm gonna tell my partner, hey, I'm busy.
Look out.
Oh no. So a missed 10 pin there by Cody. Kyle stepping up to take the lead here in the fifth. Excuse me. He likes it. Just didn't quite turn over, and like we've discussed, this pair stinks. This is
Semifinals. No, you're good, bro. Okay, so
he didn't hear the announcement. So after the first match, he sent it to the calls to find out he can't use it anymore.
Is the finals will be best of 3. What a spare that was. He's done a couple of, or made a couple of very tough 2-8s. I'm trying to get a look at what. It's easier for me to see it when it rolls back from the, or onto the ball return. And I think Cody was originally throwing a reality, perhaps. Read it. Ooh, 7 pin. The spinner gets it. How many times have we seen that? We've been talking about going straight at 2-8s. And, man. That was a very clutch spare.
Yeah, I'm very good at missing the 3-9 on league. I couldn't imagine trying to shoot it on this.
Shoemaker after missing a single pin.
That one was way out there.
It's a good break, maybe a hair quick.
But again, as a player that's bowled here before and kind of looking for ball reactions, the fact that that ball got back enough to 2-pin, I'd be excited about.
If I had to guess on Cody's equipment, I'm gonna just say something in that hyped line. I saw a TNT roll this week and it had a little bit more orange in it to me.
Spare up in the 6th. But trailing now to Kyle. So we head to the second half of the game. Again, this is game 3. Winner of this will face Graham Fa.
Man, it looks like Cody. All right, all right.
I guess he changed to shoot the spare. Now he's changing back.
Since that ball didn't hook as much. I'll get into it in 1 second again, Storm B for you. 7th frame Shoemaker.
That one hooked pretty quick. Again, that's the danger you roll into, or you get into with that early roll, is if it's going straight when it gets to the pocket, you are going to leave flat all kinds of stuff. Flats 10s, those little half pockets, swisher 7s. But again, it does give you control of the pocket, but might not be the best conducive to throwing strikes at this point.
Again, this is a semifinal match. Graham Fa is awaiting his opponent And these two have been locked in a complete battle. Troop showing a lot of resolve. Shoemaker got out in front early, and as he should have. And now he is just in between, looks like ball reaction right now. Speaking of Cody, he's got to find a way to double.
Kyle with the lead, looking to add to it. That one hooked very quick. Blows the 4 right back for a double and a big double. First double of the match. Kyle looking to go up 20 plus.
I believe Kyle's in a phase 2. At least that's what it looks like from here. It's a good view. You see Kyle watch. You see that right leg? The shorts, right? Minimal space between that and the ball return.
Definitely. That one looked really good off his hand and just picked up, and man, I'm sure he'll just get his one and move along here. Even just with one guy throwing something with surface and one guy throwing one without surface, I can't imagine what they're combining to do to where they're trying to play. The two different surfaces are kind of fighting each other.
Right, counteracting.
Correct. So where we are now, Kyle can strike out for 202. Cody can strike out for 203.
Yeah, I think for Cody, it's just a situation. I think he just needs to see them all go down.
Right. Somebody said he's throwing a hyped. Hyped?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Definitely a phase 2 for Kyle. I can see the label on the return.
Oh, late kick of the 9. Yeah, Paul Eston said he bowled with him last night, and Cody changed to a hyped. So that's what it appears to be. Thank you, Paul.
Paul, I'm going to get you a new hat, too, by the way. I think we've had this conversation in the past.
No argument from me. So Cody stepping up here can put all of the pressure right back on Kyle.
Troop will finish first.
That one hooked really quick. It sure seems like that lane is, the hook spot just early has blown up. Even Kyle's last ball in that lane went high. I should have asked Jeremy who is here if he's planning on delaying the start of his tournament. I would imagine he would. I can't imagine he'd have practice going on down there while they're bowling for a title. Big spare here. Very nice. So Kyle's got ball in hand. Cody can strike out for 183. Kyle can strike out for 202.
Finals pair will move to 35-36. Again, that is a fresh pair that is now sat the longest.
Which, if Kyle doesn't have something with surface, it's going to greatly benefit Graham.
Ninth frame Troop.
Shot for Kyle. Great
Carries.
shot.
Carries.
So stepping up in the 10th, if he throws the first one, he will move on to the finals. Spare strike would force Cody to have all 3 in the 10th. So this first shot is quite important.
For as well as Cody Shoemaker has bowled, it seems Very Bradley-esque for it to really come down to this.
Correct.
Cody went from 30th place entering the day to 3rd. And now has to watch and wait for Kyle Troop to see what the fate will be.
Now keep in mind, Kyle has split on this lane twice this game.
Strike to
That looked
win.
pretty good.
Bang.
Very nice. Very nice.
Wow.
I think he wanted that one. That was awesome to see. So now we will have Graham Fa versus Kyle Troop in your finals.
Great bowling by Cody Shoemaker, man.
Extremely. Like you said, to go from 30th to 3rd is just remarkable. That's a win in itself. Now, I know he'll leave here not feeling that way, but I hope in a day or two he understands that's a win in itself. That's incredible. A lot of people will come in 30th and just hope they, try and get to the next level when it comes to checks. Not many would even think about the fact they have a chance of making it this far. Kudos to him. Kudos to Kyle. And now here we go. Nice work, Kyle. Nice work, Kyle.
So congrats to Cody. He's going to take home $2,200.
Correct. He deserves a round of applause himself.
All right, folks, I'm going to make a quick change. Finals are next.
All right, advancing to your final, you have your 1 seed, Graham Fa, bowling your 7 seed, Kyle True. Everyone please give them a round of applause. We'd like to thank everybody for coming out. Spectators, if you wouldn't mind, please silencing all cell phones and devices until the end of the final match. Bowlers, you will get 5 minutes of practice each. To Cody and Brett, also great bowling. This weekend, your checks will be ready immediately. Please see Jason at the front desk. Good luck and good bowling.
Classy of you, Graham. A lot of people would have taken full advantage of that. Hit the start button. It's one of the reasons I love you. So I did luckily he went and grabbed another bag.
And then I need you to do me a favor.
What's that?
Just go update the folks on what I'm doing, what's about to happen.
Which
Your two?
okay. So as the players get ready to practice here, Kyle did go to his car and grab another 3-ball tote. Emil is moving the cameras around to get everything in place. Both players are now on their pair, getting their practice. They get 5 minutes of practice on this pair, as this pair is fresh. And Kyle did go to, I think, his car, truck, what have you, and grab another bag so that he at least had something with surface going in to this final match. So we are probably in store for a good one. 2 extremely great players on something demanding where shot making is at a premium, and you have 2 shot makers that are likely to put on quite another entertaining match. Our last match was entertaining in its own right for a number of reasons, and I don't think we as fans, spectators, announcers, what have you, are going to be disappointed in this one. So, and I thought I gave Graham a round of applause. They were going to start practice, but Kyle was not around. He was out grabbing a bag, and Graham easily could have went ahead and hit the start button and started practice. Instead, he waited for Kyle to get back and get ready to go rather than kind of handcuff Kyle even more and starting practice and being, I don't know, unsportsmanlike maybe? I don't know. I don't know how you would look at that, but either way, he waited. And now we have about 3 minutes of practice left. We have a lefty and the two-hander left. Curious to hear who the chat thinks will take this one home, but I think either way, we will all be rewarded with some quality bowling. Great job. Sorry, I turned down for a minute. I wanted to make sure that I told and congratulated Cody on his weekend before he kind of went out. Win, lose, or draw. I know he's disappointed right now, but again, to go from 30 to 3rd today is impressive in its own right. So even being in contention of making the finals is applauded for sure. Now again, the bowling center itself has several more people hanging out here now because there is another tournament that is supposed to start at 5 o'clock. So you have more people coming in, moving around, getting their balls in here, so on and so forth. So we shall see what happens once we get started. Again, anybody that might have seen Kyle kind of, I guess I'll just say yell about the phone being on, you have to understand there were only 4 people in the building bowling, so it was dead silent. And he was already up against not being able to use a ball or two that he thought he was going to be able to. So I will 1000% look past his outburst there because there was a lot going on at the moment. We'll say that. So I think you have to give him the benefit of the doubt on that one. I think anybody that's, you know, been in a competitive situation probably would have reacted similar. Kerry, he did go to his truck and grab a different bag of balls. So I'm assuming, and again, this is just a pure assumption. He didn't tell us anything. This is just what my thought process is. I'm assuming he went to the truck and grabbed a different bag because something in the truck did have surface. That's my guess. "45 seconds left to practice. Bowling alley is definitely filling up, which is good because, if nothing else, I think more people should be able to watch this match because I think it's going to bring entertainment value for sure. Yeah, Curry, I agree. I think Graham has proven, especially today, but Graham, you know, in his career has proven that he's going to figure him out. Again, he was the only lefty in the round of 4, obviously now in the finals, so he's used to that. He's right up the back of it, which is beneficial. And as you can see by his practice shots like this one, I mean, he is able to get it to roll up in the right spot, and he's going to be hard to beat. But again, if anybody could, you would have to think it could be a former PBA Player of the Year. So here we go. It's best 2 out of 3. And Kyle will be leading us off. First shot for Kyle. Great shot to start. So Kyle's first ball dead flush. Graham stepping up here in the second, or excuse me, in the first. This one's going to be fun. That is, as a fellow left-hander, I am not too proud to say that I am very jealous of his ability to do that. That is fun to watch. So both players start out with 10 straight back. Graham getting up in the second. Looks like he is still throwing that Polaris, we believe. Another fantastic shot. I think if I comment fantastic shot on every fantastic shot these two guys make, I would not recommend making a drinking game out of me saying fantastic shot. Because I think these two are going to make a bunch of them. Kyle stepping up here in the second. Kyle goes a smidge high, knocks the 9 out of the 7-9. Another good shot. It does look like he is using one of the balls that he went and grabbed out of the car. I do not think this is one he was using the round previous. He just wanted to show everybody that had the 9 stood, he would have made the split. He was just showing off for the fans. Kyle up here in the third. Looked like he hopped a little on that one. Just enough offline, but rolls the 2 forward for a very big break. I'm sure he will take all of those he can get. Graham's shot here in the third, got a little left off his hand, rose up, mixes them together for another strike. Front 3 for Graham. And Graham has just continued to keep everything in good shape so far today. In this bracket, he has 248, 214, 199, 235. So he certainly has a formidable look. And as good of a shot maker as he is, that's a nice place to be. Another good one. That one, yeah. I think even Kyle understands what he's up against here. 10 straight back. Kyle smirking at him. Yeah, I think Kyle knows what he's up against here. Even going out to the truck and getting balls he sanded, doesn't matter. Either way, he knows he's up against quite the opponent here. Kyle up here in the fourth, coming off a strike that was a little light. We rolled the 2, coming off a 7-pin off of this lane the last attempt. Here we go. Oh man, he's playing the, just almost keeping it, making sure he keeps it in the inside of the 3-pin, and that one just kind of turned over just enough to be disastrous. Maybe see if we can bounce anything out of him. Nope. So Kyle opens in the fourth. His opponent has started off with a 4-bagger. I call them 4-baggers. I know other bowling announcers call them something else.
You can say it on this platform. We give proper credit. Now, if you don't want to say it, it's up
with
to
a
you.
hand bone to get the match started.
You just give credit.
Yeah, I'm all good.
It's like the hat tip, you know.
Right, definitely. Another one where it's just, that's such a fine line that it looks like he's just trying to make sure he doesn't throw it to the right of the 3-pin, but any miss in is going to do that. Especially when he knows that his opponent is just 10 back every shot so far. That's a very uncomfortable place to be. Both mentally, physically, on the lane, everything.
Well, I mean, you know he's tired, and I'm not even talking about just the physical part. Just the last that match with Shoemaker put him through, everything.
The emotional ringer, yeah, definitely. Goes Graham on the first 4. 10 back again. Just a walk in the park so far for Graham. And I agree. And I saw somebody in the chat say that these guys make it look like they're bowling on something easy. And to me, that's always one of the biggest compliments a bowler can receive. When they're bowling on something like this and you're telling them they're making it look easy, that is quite the compliment. Because that just goes to show how well they're doing and how good they are. These guys both are top level. Oh, whoa, Graham. Solid 10s, and it falls forward. Even Kyle let out a little gasp on that one. Front 6 for Graham.
My man's been.
That's what I mean. He's only had 1 game under 200 so far in the brackets. That's impressive. Kyle with a ball change here. That one kind of rolled through the spot a little more rather than grabbing so quick. So strike up in the 6th. And again, it's not total pins. Anybody watching that might not know the format, it's best 2 out of 3. So it doesn't matter if a guy wins or loses a game by 100. It's just 1 game. So Kyle can kind of fiddle around here and see what he can find. And it's not going to really hurt any more than losing by 1. Kyle working on the strike, likes that one too. Again, that was not the world's greatest rack, but that's okay. Half 10, so he's hit the pocket both times since his ball change. I'm sure he's going to spend the next few shots kind of tinkering with that to try and get in a good spot. Graham on the first 6 is just kind of in cruise control at this point, game 1. But again, it's a mentality thing. You also, as Graham, can't let your guard down and get complacent now that you have a lead, because the next game is a whole new story. Graham on the first 6. Graham on the first 7. Very impressive to watch. This is one of those times that people will say, wish I was left-handed. And this is where I, as a left-hander, would say, I wish I was Graham Fa. I'm a left-hander that would not be able to do that, I can assure you.
Been putting on a clinic.
Yes, he has. Another great shot. Oh, half buckets there. I did see somebody ask in the chat if they chopped. That is not my business, so I have no idea. Didn't ask, don't want to know. Kerry, I think Graham is throwing a Polaris, if that's what you were asking about.
Pole's still up too, by the way.
Graham chops the spare.
It was in favor of Graham. But how would you describe Bradley patterns in general? Like, if you had to give them names, what would you?
Well, I heard everybody talk, when you were talking earlier, somebody had asked what the name of the pattern was. And I said it doesn't have a name, but I would name it brutal. This would be the brutal pattern, because it is so, again, especially during qualifying, when you're crossing lanes and you have 20 guys that have bowled on the lane before you playing 3 different parts of the lane, it's a nightmare, because you're going to have hook where you shouldn't have hook. You can't move around it and try and curve it, because it's not going to hook down lane. It is quite the task to somehow find a way to find a part on the lane that you feel confident in what you're doing. Again, that's why I got to give Cody so much credit. I'm sure he's leaving disappointed, but to make the jump from 30 to 3rd is remarkable. Kyle looks like he might have moved his feet a little more left on that one to try and kind of not quite throw the fader, but he's getting there. That was another good shot, another good 10 pin. So he's getting closer to being right. How would you describe it? While you think about it, I'll answer. I think, John, they said they have right at 60 in the singles, and I think we had 150. I think we had 78. 78? Was that right? 76 doubles pairings on Friday.
Yeah, approximately.
I think it was like 76.
Something like that, yes.
Chris Corbin won your singles. I don't like to talk about the guys that won the doubles because they beat me. So I'm a little bitter. But I'm kidding.
It's still best 2 out of 3. Yeah, I would just name it. Someone just mentioned it. The Bradley.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the best way of calling it, because you kind of, I mean, guys that...
You know what I would name it? Here we go.
Okay.
If you're a fan of Rocky.
Oh, definitely.
You know, famous words from Clubber Lang. Pain.
Pain. Definitely. Pain. What was the other? Dead meat, I think it was the other one. Pain and dead meat. Good seeing you as well. Aaron Martin. It's always a pleasure. Graham Spares in the 10th.
I hate my guy missed singles, too. Shot 260 on there.
Aaron did?
Yeah.
Nice. Love that guy. It's always fun in this game when you come across bowlers that are not only exceptional bowlers, but exceptional people. And Aaron certainly fits that category. So Graham ends with 244. Again, Kyle is kind of hunting around right now, trying to just figure out what he's got to go into the next game. He has, since his ball changed to the pocket, 4 balls in a row, but only one of them struck. So we'll see what he does here on the 10th. That one's going to be out. Moving a little right, and again, once it gets outside of the 3-pin right now, it's just doesn't want to pick up where he is anyway, playing that far. I want to say that far in, but that far away from the gutter. Any mistake right is going to be amplified. Kyle wrapping up game 1. More and more keep piling into the building as the doubles tournament was supposed to start at 5, but it does look like Jeremy is going to wait for this to be over. That was a different ball again by Kyle, and that one looked probably the best that game. So Graham is up 1-0. You can throw those scores completely out now because it is just game by game.
244 to 182 officially. Want to thank all of you who have tuned in, not only today, but certainly since Friday morning's Fairchild Singles Shootout. Thank you so much. Again, Emil Williams Jr. with Chris Hester. Thanks, Chris, for joining me today. We finally were able to get this thing going as far as you being in the booth. And maybe good news for Kyle Troop, an early 6-9 situation for Graham Fa. But thanks for being available.
Oh, my pleasure.
Great bowling in the double shootout first
Thank you,
and
sir.
foremost.
Appreciate that. And I would be amiss to say, you know, like I was talking to you about earlier, the fact that, you know, you've been here since early Friday all the way to now, up first thing every morning here, setting up and streaming. We greatly appreciate you, and thank you does not nearly do enough justice to the amount of appreciation we have in what you do. And you,
I
period.
appreciate it. I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're very welcome. So Kyle stepping up. Graham coming off an open.
Daniel Dino bowled. Got a chance to see him up close, man. Great bowl.
Yes, he is. Oh, it's got a light shaking. Shakes his tail feather at it. And Splashes a 7 right out.
I believe Tina Turner would be very proud.
Definitely. So it does look like Kyle threw something different on the fill, that he started this game with that same ball. I can't really see what it is. I will be honest, I'm not up to snuff on the storm balls, so I can't tell you by color.
On Kyle's current ball, the first ball he was throwing?
The one he's throwing now.
Okay. I'll pay more.
Looks like the phase 2 coloring, but I am very out of the loop. That looks pretty good. Great shot.
Wow.
Big double by Kyle.
And that ball hasn't given him the best look since he's had to remove some balls.
Correct.
That is a phase 2.
It was, so that was a good guess. Graham stepping up, coming off a 6-8. Logging out the 7. So he has open strike, while Kyle has started with a double.
You know what, Jeff? Today I actually, today was the latest start. Well, minus Friday. So I did actually make the stop this morning. I was like, I'm going to need it today. Wow, so he just got one out.
So the last 3 out of the last 4 shots on that lane, he has gone bucket, 6-8, 7-10. And if this does go to game 3, that's the lane he will finish on. So for the first time in the finals, Graham facing a little adversity. Kyle stepping up here in the 3rd, working on a double, trailing in the match 1-0.
You know, this kind of has a little similarity to the way, let's see, let me go back to my scores. Maybe not, but I feel like one of the matches, no, it was round 1. His match against Stouffer, right? He got off to the great start game 1, and then there was some small trouble in game 2. And of course, he had to throw the back 4 to win.
Yeah, I think he if I remember correctly, he made a ball change at some point that match, and did, correct, end up finishing big to win. Kyle going high, leaving a 6-9. But working on a double, leaving something makeable is always a breath of relief. Shooting a spare, covers it clean. So through 3, Kyle with a fairly big lead. I will be very interested to see what Graham does the next time on the left lane.
What would you do or be thinking in that situation?
It's funny because I was about to say that if you remember, this is a similar thing that Brett Shepard had to face against Graham. He had the one lane that he was dialed in on, but the other one was a little iffy. And I said that if I was Brett, I would potentially loft it or change my speed because you can't really move away from that spot. Kyle stepping up, that one got way right. Washing out, knowing Graham, I honestly think Graham can move his target a little left and get around that spot. But you don't want to make a drastic move because while Kyle did start with a double, your opponent isn't exactly dialed in. So you definitely don't want to start bringing 6 into play. Almost fell forward, so fortunate to get 2. Again, Graham's last shot, shaker 7-10, so it's not like he's completely lost that lane. But to 6-8 and shaker 7-10, that's such a drastic difference between the two that he's definitely going to have to do something on that lane. Had he went flat 7, you might not make that big of a move, but you left a high split and a light split. Flat 7 again. You can just see his ball's just burning up, and I almost wonder if this is just a case of the ball kind of lane shining at this point. Because again, they started with being able to sand it after, during practice of the first round, but since then you haven't. He's been throwing this ball essentially the whole time, so that surface that he started with is a goner by now.
Yeah, I feel like at least 2 matches worth. Well, this is not a full match yet. Well, we might as well count it.
All right.
Definitely last match.
Right.
And toward the end of the first match.
Correct. So he's got several games on it now, and no matter what surface you put on it to start, the more you bowl with it, obviously the more it's going to shine itself right back up. So let's see what he does here. This is an important shot for a few reasons. Messenger's out the 7. Great shot. It almost sounded like that one kind of rolled off the label, so I'm thinking he might have just got at the back of that one more. Just got it into that roll, which he's so good at. I've crossed with him a few times at the Kentucky Open, and I'm just watching his ball do stuff that I'm like, what? That's not fair. Why am I bowling against this dude?
Woo. I wonder, is that G Woo, by the way? It's a good question. I'll ask Chris in 1 second. His frame troop.
That looks pretty good off his hand. Great shot by Kyle. That is threading the needle.
That probably hit, what, 19? And
Right.
got no brighter than at most 15.
I was gonna say 16. So yeah, that's what I said. He is kind of that thing right now where he just has to keep it inside the 3-pin. If it gets to the right half of the 3-pin, it is a goner. And that is an impressive line to be playing and succeeding at.
Appreciate you, G Woo. Great bowling at the Reed Hawthorne, my guy.
Looks like it's got a roll. Leaves the bucket. Doesn't lose count, fortunately. Working on a strike, so the count itself doesn't hurt. But with Graham still right around the pocket, this is a pretty important spare.
So the question from George Wooten was, what do you do when the ball gets lane shined in the middle of a match?
I personally will, again, I do exactly what I thought Graham just did there. Kyle misses a spare, because the desired outcome of putting surface on your ball anyway is to help it hook a little more in the front part of the lane. So personally, the more up the back of it I come, the earlier it is going to hook. So while early he may have been able to circle a little more and the surface of the ball will take over, now he definitely needs to make sure he's up the back of it to get it into that early roll. That one got a little left off his hand and mixes them together for a double. So Graham working on a double, Kyle working on 2 opens in a row on the left lane, which again, the left lane is the one Kyle has split on twice. Excuse me, Graham has split on twice. Kyle finishes on that lane this game, so that could come into play. Again, you could almost hear like it's rolling over a label now, so I'm pretty sure he really started to come up the back of that one more.
Big 3-bagger for Graham Fa. What a way to overcome the first 3 frames. And now can Kyle Troop, again, as we just talked about, threading the needle.
That looks pretty good. Great shot again by Kyle.
Deadly accurate on this right lane.
Yeah, every shot has looked identical on that lane. It's a matter if we can get the ball to pick up in the right part of the lane on this lane. This is a pretty key shot for the match itself. Graham has made his little move, and Right back into his 3-bagger. Let's see what Kyle can do here. That one looks pretty good. Great shot. What a big shot. Keeping himself right there, right in where he's got giving himself a chance. That's all you can do. 2 great shots in a row. Graham stepping up here in the 8th. That one looks pretty good. 10 back. That is hard to beat. Mm-hmm. 4-bagger there for Mr. Fa. He has 237 left on the sheet. Kyle has 220 left on the sheet. Kyle will finish first. So depending on this shot, we will know whether or not Kyle will have the opportunity to lock it up, or if he's just attempting to put pressure on what looks like a machine at the moment. See that?
And there it is.
I've made the comment to Emil 2 or 3 times now that you can hear the ball almost roll over its label. I think it's the label. And you could just see that one just picked up so much more in the middle part of the lane. And now things just got interesting. I would imagine he's just going to get his count and move on, being that he's on a double. Which it looks like that's exactly what he's doing. So Kyle can strike out for 220. Graham has 198 left on the sheet. So even if Kyle spares here, he can still strike out in the 10th to win. But again, the left lane has been the trickier of the 2 lanes. Let's see what he can do.
Three out of 4 on this lane.
That's in. Yikes, that's not a spare you want to shoot either. That loses count. That's a rough one. Big spare attempt here. But that changes a few things here. This is a big spare.
And now he's got to make it. And then he can no longer shut out Graham.
Correct. That count was massive. And that's the 3rd 6 count this game. Of course, one of them was on a strike, didn't lose count. One was on a spare, so you do. So, see if you can find a way to make the hardest non-split in our game. That looks good. Oh, it's got to curve a little. Dang it. So, here we go. Kyle can strike out to force Graham to mark and count. And Graham is finishing on the lane that I think he struck potentially every ball today. No, he missed in the 4th, I'm sorry. But either way, still spare, so Kyle needs them all to force Graham to mark in the 10th.
We've seen Kyle do some great stuff obviously here, but the way Graham has just continued to.
And as he washes out, that kind of ends it. It looks like Graham Fowle will bring home his first
And that's it.
Bradley Open championship. I had asked Jason earlier, I thought Graham had won before. Maybe I was just clairvoyant. Throwing
Nice.
a backup ball at the spare. I was just handed a note that said this match is a true reflection of bowling in this tournament, and that is very true. We have seen 3 or 4 different adjustments made in a 2-game stretch, and Kyle's just going to show that everything the lefties throw strikes. Great tournament by Kyle. Especially, again, knowing the adversity he was up against. You cannot do anything but applaud that and pat him on the back and tell him, job well done. It would have been so easy to lose your mental game and that affect your physical game based on earlier. You can hear the applause in the crowd. the 5 o'clock doubles field is all. Everybody is back there watching this match. So this felt like a PBA setting.
It really did. And the way everyone filed in because of the tournament, I don't know if he did this on purpose to get more people in the building, but nice job by you.
Yeah, Jeremy Thomas said his tournament bowlers were clapping. That's who Emil was talking to there. And oh, here we go. Kyle starting the slow clap for Graham. Oh, no, that's not the way you wanted to end it, but you can always say your last match of your first Bradley Open was a 5-10, and I guarantee you anybody that's bowled this tournament would go, yeah, that's about right. Again, thank everybody for joining us. Thank you for the comments and questions. Thank you for voting on the polls. Much love to everybody that bowled. Anybody that you got to watch bowl today, I guarantee you worked their tails off to get here. Give Grand Fa a just standing ovation for a phenomenal tournament. And Emil, I will hand this off to you.
No, not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
So not yet, so never mind.
Not yet.
I will hang out. I'm good.
I'm going to try to get Graham
Okay.
for a quick moment.
Works for me. Absolutely love to see it. Great job by Graham. Great job by Kyle. I mean, all the guys bowled. So I saw we did have a female in the Final Four too. So I mean, Final 40. So
Yes.
kudos to everybody. This was, if you were still bowling today, you achieved something, and you should look at it that way. So everybody on screen today did a great job. I see a Let's Go Jake Paul in there. I think that was supposed to be at like 2 maybe, the card starting. Yeah, there is a lot of people here all of a sudden.
From the cooks, the bartenders, the staff at the
Jeremy Thomas is still trying to talk Emil into bowling the
What happened? What is
Baker's
it?
doubles.
Oh, God, no. I would have considered it if I had a bowling ball.
Hang on one. Emil, I have a blank ball in my car.
Oh,
If you-
gosh.
He said he would consider it if he had a ball. I was like, I got a ball in my car.
I'm going home, man.
Right, see? He said, what brand do you throw? We'll find you one.
Oh, I'm not affiliated.
Not affiliated. I've got a Black Widow hybrid in the car I was going to drill. Absolutely. So we're getting our pictures of our finalists here. I believe Graham was using a Polaris. I believe. So they're up there getting their pictures, and then Emil wants to get Graham here in the booth for a minute. Again, thanks to everybody that tuned in. Spend a little bit of your weekend with us. We appreciate it more than you know. Without you, there's no us. So Graham is going to hop on a headset here for a minute.
All right, hold on 1 second. Not yet. Let me get him framed up first. So blank picture, Graham. I'm gonna actually take a few steps back. I'm gonna try to frame you right here. Give me a second here. Can you hear us, by the way? Okay. All right. Okay. All right, Chris.
Yes, sir.
Mic up. And Graham. Booyah.
All right.
You can hear us.
Yes.
Excellent.
We can hear you. Beautiful.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
First and foremost, I know you finished second in this event in the past, and now you get the dub. What's it like to conquer the mountain known as the Bradley Open?
It's a tall task for sure. I mean, the conditions they put out year after year, that they make the best come out of each and every one of us. Spare shooting's key, and the best bowlers always come to the top.
That was a comment in there. No matter what you're bowling on, it does seem like the cream always rises to the top. And I would venture to say that anybody that even glanced at a roster would have a hard time arguing that the cream didn't rise to the top again today.
No, it tends to be that way, and it's always great to bowl against the best. So to have a title match and a match play kind of pathway against great bowlers, it feels good to come out ahead.
You bowled well, obviously, this morning, too. Like, what was the look, what was the plan for you, whether it be lane play and also bowling ball choice that helped you get the dub today?
I mean, I don't think there's a magic bowling ball here at
Sure.
the Bradley, but a lot of surface, so you want to keep your surface fresh. That helped me through qualifying, but you can only hit so many bowling balls with that much surface. So just trying to manage that, keep the ball in play, and make your spares.
So out of curiosity, we did get a number of questions asking kind of what grit you put on a few of your balls, and we guessed, but obviously it'd be best to know from the guy that just won the tournament what was your game plan in terms of surfaces on your equipment?
I actually don't use Avalon pads this week. I wasn't sure if I'd be able to bowl. I've been dealing with a bone bruise on my left arm, so this is kind of like my first big tournament back. So I made a quick stop at Home Hardware and picked up one of their pads.
Beautiful.
It didn't say the number grit to it. It just worked.
Well, it's funny, when we were in the pro shop, Mike Flora asked what surface you used, and you said, I don't really know. And then when you walked out, we were like, well, how does he not know? That explains it now. That makes way more sense.
A lot of congratulations towards you, Graham. Just finally, what's next kind of on your schedule, and how will you enjoy this Bradley win?
Next is going to be the Jackson, Michigan stop on tour. The arm's obviously feeling good enough where I can repeat shots and bowl at a high level, so I'm ready to go back on tour starting in Jackson. So that's where I have my goals set now.
All right, Chris, anything else?
Just another congratulations. Well done. It's always fun to watch. Like I was telling everybody earlier, I've had the privilege of watching not only bowl this, but bowl the Kentucky Open, and no matter short pattern, long pattern, whatever it is, it always seems like you find a way to keep yourself in play, and that is very impressive coming from somebody that does also bowl tournaments that sometimes you find my name way at the bottom. Your name never seems to get there. You find a way to keep yourself in contention, and there's just no words that I could express to show how amazing that is for me to watch you be able to do time after time after time. So congratulations. Well-deserved victory, well-earned victory. We were talking when we first started whether or not anybody left had won one, and I told Jason, hasn't Graham won? And he said, no, he's got a second. So I said, well, now I can say Graham has won. Congratulations. Great job.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you, guys.
Congrats, Graham. That is Graham Fa. You stay, Chris.
Thank you, guys.
Great job, man.
Oh, wait, you're not done.
I thought you told me to take it off.
I thought he was two.
Oh, I got you. I got you.
No, I had to have you on to do the official sign-off since you were here for the championship. First, thank you so much. Always been a fan from afar of yours. I told Daniel I wish I had a chance to bowl with him and against him during our college days.
That would have been fun.
But I appreciate you sharing your knowledge with the Bowlstream TV audience and every bowling fan who watched this today. Man, appreciate you, bro.
My pleasure. Like I said, I apologize for not being here yesterday. Glad I was able to make it today. And while I appreciate the love, we can't thank you enough for all you do. You've spent more hours in this building this weekend than any of the bowlers have. And for you to continue to do that, continue to, find things to talk about to keep the watchers entertained, because I watched all day yesterday. So the ability to continue to talk for that long and keep people entertained is commendable, and we all owe you a round of applause as well for all you do. So you are greatly appreciated. I hope you understand and know that.
I appreciate you, Chris, and I appreciate everyone else for tuning in. We had a wonderful audience for the finals, as we knew we would. John McCarthy, no, sir. I am on the first thing smoking back to Chicago.
John Jeremy's trying to talk him into bowling the tournament, so I think he's going to try and sneak out of here as quickly as he can.
I'm going home. I'm about to tear this stuff down and hit the road. But thank you all for watching. I think we got up to 15 or close to 1,500 during the finals.
That's awesome.
Thank you to Jason Utchwall, all of our sponsors here for the Bradley Open, QubicaAMF, Motiv, Classic Products, CTD creating the difference, High Five Gear, and 7-Leaf. The great folks here at Executive Strike and Spare. Joey, the great mechanic who does great work. Speaking of someone who's
Love
here,
that guy, yeah.
he's here before me in the morning. So shout out to Joey. He let
Joey's
me
a
in,
rock star.
actually.
Nice, yeah.
On Friday. So I appreciate Joey. And again, thank you to everyone for watching. This will be archived, of course, on the Bullstream TV YouTube channel. Please subscribe, share, and all of the above. Next thing for me personally for Bullstream TV, I'm going to Wisconsin next weekend. High school state championship next Sunday. We've got collegiate sectionals on Bowl TV coming up. Don't forget to still support the PBA on Bowl TV.
Absolutely.
You just heard Graham said he's going back out on tour. He feels good enough to do that.
Which is great to hear.
Which is great. So he's going to come out probably feeling very confident. So
I would imagine.
It's probably not a good thing for the rest of the tour.
Not at all. Like I said, he finds a way to make his way to the top. So having a little bit of confidence and that much ability is a scary combination.
All right, until next time, folks, we will say so long for now. Congratulations again. And one more thing about Kyle Troop. Great job by Kyle.
Definitely.
To get through the stuff that he had to go through. You know, ultimately it was his mistake from it was announced, etc. He did what he had to do, got through a match in the semifinals.
Which is very commendable. A lot of us would have just kind of packed it in at that moment, and he did not do that. He figured out a way to make it work, and that, again, deserves a round of applause for that as well. That was also very impressive.
All right, folks, so that will do it. Congrats to Kyle on the runner-up finish. Again, congrats to Graham and all of our semifinalists and actually finalists, all of our 8 finalists today as well. Graham takes home $12,500 for the win. Kyle will take home $5,000 for his runner-up finish. So for Chris Hester, Jason Utchwall, Doug, Brandy, the entire Utchwall family, all the staff here at Executive Bowl or Executive Strike and Spare, excuse me. My name is Emil Williams Jr. We say so long for now from Executive Strike and Spare in Louisville, Kentucky. This has been a presentation of the Bradley Open. You watched it live and only on Bullstream TV. Good night, folks.